Okay, I'm so viscerally uncomfortable. So I want to begin this first playtest, which, even though we're recording it, I'm not even going to worry about like audience-facing stuff. I'm going to record this by talking to you guys and see why you're doing this, because boy, that is a question that's coming up in my mind a lot at the moment. So I guess, Ari, starting with you, what is interesting you about this? Why have you decided to put your hand up for this today?
Going on as little as I have, I'm interested to see your process and to collaborate with everyone on a completely new game I know very little about.
Awesome. And I'm super excited to hear your design thoughts as well. Haley, why are you here? You're too successful for this.
No. Playing games that don't exist yet, regardless of who they're written by, is a hobby that I have, so it's always exciting. But I love the theme of this game and the stuff that you're trying to do, so I'm excited to see how it all gels.
Thank you. I think that's super kind. And this is definitely a game that doesn't exist. Ryan, why?
Well, like I said over Slack, I know it's a vomit draft, and I want to help polish your vomit into a beautiful vomit diamond or something. There is no way to make a good metaphor out of there. Basically, I've watched some of the Drawing the Owl ones. I'm not totally caught up, but it's really interesting seeing your process, and I want to see how that works. And I really like being helpful. So,
you were super helpful.
Pitch in somehow.
Yeah, I really appreciate you stepping in at very short notice and being super helpful.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know until like a half an hour ago that I would have any free time today, so
so good. V, you have 2 wildly successful Kickstarters. Why are you slumming it with me?
Oh, I don't think it's slumming it. It's a lot of fun to play games that are in development and seeing them shape up. And it's a really important process as, you know, what you're trying to do as a game designer. So it's really exciting to be part of that, and actually feel very honored that you're opening this game up and it's at that stage where we can all play it. It's really fun.
Thank you. I'm hoping it's at the stage we can all play it. I'm actually not sure if it is yet. We're going to find out together.
Yeah, and that's good to. I'm sure it is though.
I'm sure it's going to be fine. So let's do our cats chat so that we can move forward. So at the moment, this game is called Unnamed Civilian Wargame. I'm teetering on Homefront. I think that feels like it's hitting a couple of things for me, but I'm not 1,000% sure. All right. Ryan's gonna. Oh, I thought Ryan was telling me to hold up for a bit. So cat stuff is Conceit. This is a game about civilians surviving in wartime. Specifically, I am focusing it on the teenage civilians. So disempowered people, vulnerable people surviving in a sort of war-torn cityscape. It is focused on intimacy and working together. It discourages violence and destruction. And most importantly, this isn't like a lot of PBTA is an emulation of fiction, or in Alas's case, like an emulation of history and historical fiction. We're kind of exploring. There's nothing out there that I found that does what I really want this to do. So there's nothing out there that's telling us what this needs to look like. We're doing it ourselves, which I think is really exciting. That we kind of get to set what this should be. And because of that reason, we're going to be really, really liberated with our characters and our setting, which makes me happy. The character's aim is to survive long enough and to stash enough stuff away that they can purchase transport outside of the country. There's some mechanics for like economy and purchasing refuge with people smugglers out of the war, which is going to be kind of the end point for characters and that humane end point for us as players. We're there to see people survive something that they have no right surviving. We're here to see people work together and to get pulled apart. And what I think is most important, we're here to find people's edges, because that's where true character lives. Like, when people are under pressure, that's when we start to see what is really interesting and important about them. The tone is intimate and focused. It will sometimes feel desperate. I want you to have small ambitions, and I want you to celebrate them like they're huge victories. And I want you to feel the impact of the losses when you don't achieve those ambitions. It's not a heroic game you will not solve the problems of international conflict with these characters. And it's also not a particularly gonzo game in that it's not going to be Michael Bay the game, if that makes sense. And now that I've spoken for a while, we're going to start talking about subject matter. So subject matter stuff is important to me. I'm really hoping I gave you guys edit. I didn't give you edit links for the spreadsheet. I'll do that now. Link in the chat is now an edit link for the spreadsheet. There's a couple of specific things we need to talk about, which is going to talk about how we feel about things like sex and intimacy and violence, especially with like vulnerable people, and especially how young and how vulnerable we want those people to be. So like a kind of a game that's framed around 17-year-old kids is going to feel very different to a game that's framed around like 9-year-old kids, right? And then especially when we're talking about like how much we want to veil things like intimacy and violence and what those words mean to us. I've got a couple of methods up, and I kind of just threw everything up because I didn't want the method to be defined. I wanted us at the table to decide what was good for us. I don't know if you guys have used the what will won't system. I don't know if you've used lines and veils. But is there anything people want to talk about or anything that they want to put in the won't or lines? I put lines and veils around the wrong way. I'll fix that now. Anything they want to put in the lines or won't section or veil section that that they want to talk about now? I can kick us off because that's always a good thing. I'll model some behavior. I'm going to put in the. I'm going to use won't. I'm going to put torture scenes in the won't section because I absolutely do not enjoy them at all.
Done already. Somebody's.
I was just casually my given, but I know Sid knows. In the interest of me actually played out the whole game, I'm putting sexual assault in the won't section.
Yeah, and I want to be really clear on that in that this game has moves about intimacy and what that means, and sometimes that can mean sex, and sometimes it can mean just being kind and gentle with people and whatever. There are moves that you can do to people without their kind of character consent, like with their player consent. But that's a move that I think is pretty clearly like a kind and gentle thing and can only be done with agreement, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess importantly for me, I want to talk about violence and sex as concepts and how much we want to do it. So there are two really important types of violence in this game. One is your kind of individual, a person getting hurt violence stuff, which is something that happens in small communities and happens in wartime. And the other is the really big like communal violence, like the fact that houses are bombed out, the fact that there's broken glass through the street, that sort of stuff. My question is, I think I would like to. What is my question? I guess, does anyone have any particular lines and veils again around those two subjects? And one is there, which is veiling that violence against younger children. Which
specifically when it's like a very individual, focused on that person kind of situation.
Yeah.
As opposed to the communal stuff you were talking about.
Yeah. And I think that might be the difference that we have. So yeah, we'll probably have a lot of like veiled individual violence, and then have that communal stuff be a bit more descriptive, if that meets those needs. Anything people want to add to before I move on to the next bit, which is what happens when those things don't go right?
Is it, well, I guess I don't have to ask, is it cool? Because I can do it, because I have the power. But yeah, I'm going to veil sex scenes because I don't really want to see them, especially if they're underage, because I don't really need child porn charges right now.
That's a really good point. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that we as a table in this game define a lot of the stuff that comes up. So what intimacy means to us is we can actually go so far as to say, let's not have it be sex stuff. Like, let's have it be the closeness of people and like the sharing of food and that sort of stuff is enough to trigger intimacy. And I think that's probably a good way for us to approach it. Now, what happens with these lines and stuff? So safety tools. I am a big fan of safety tools. The biggest one that's on the table is always the open table policy. Feel free to walk away at any point. I will not be distraught about it. If it's really, really uncomfortable and it's something you need to flight from, feel free to flee. If it is something you would like to stop, you always have the X card on the table. Lots of different ways of doing that. You've got chats and hand signs to the cameras are always good. And also just verbalizing X is useful. Kira got me thinking about it again the other day. O cards and like support cards. You know, this is something I like. This is something to see more of. Chat is really good for that. Which is like, you know, someone's doing something that's good. You can just type "so good" in the chat, or you can throw them up O's and stuff like that. Super good. I'm also getting into script change tools at the moment. You know, the fast forward, pause, rewind. Is everyone familiar with those? Okay, cool. So basics of it is fast forward is really good when you want to veil stuff, where it's just like, oh yeah, that is a thing that's going to happen, but let's just fast forward through the actual discussion of it. Pause is really good when you just want to be like, hold that for a sec, like let's talk about this before we progress any further. And rewind is for when something occurs that you want to retcon out, basically. Yeah, so how are these actions during play? It's mostly vocal just because of the environment we're in. Chat's there. Things can get lost. If you see someone throwing up X's and whatevs, or even if you're unsure, if you think you see someone throwing up X's, and the other person that's talking doesn't see it, just verbalize it for them. Just help stop that sort of stuff. And then what happens after they're used? Safety breaks will be on the table if people want to chill out after we do a pause or an X or whatever. We can do that. We can take 5 and come back to it. Yeah, and that's just
it. I got everything except the O card. What's the O card?
O stands for aware, which is it's the opposite of the X card. So the X card is something you want to stop or see less of. The O card is something you want to push forward, see more of. So you know how
cool.
in chat, Ari, we're normally like just super supportive of each other. That's all O card mentality.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Any questions on safety tools before I start talking about what my goals are? Cool. Anything people want to add? Anything I've left out? Cool. So my playtest goals are 3. 1, move resolution structure works and is understandable. 2, players want to do things and achieve things. And 3, no more than 1 dead end roll. 1 roll where nothing happens afterwards, where it's like, okay, we did the thing, but now we don't know where to go from there. They're my only goals. If we can do that and everything else falls to pieces, I'm A-okay with it. So let's begin. The setting creation for this is all very table focused. So we're all a team. We're all going to do this together and it's going to be awesome. Has anyone here not played The Quiet Year?
I did once years and years ago, and I have a very vague memory of it, and I'm not sure if that'll be sufficient or not, but I did once.
Cool. It'll be more than sufficient, but it's... Sorry, V, were you?
Oh no, agreeing.
Dope. That shows us we should all play the quiet game more often. So we're going to create a city. We're going to create this environment that we're playing in, and we're going to do that together. So I think first off we should, and there's no like voting things or like one player decides this, one player decides this. It's kind of stuff we all come to together. So in that spreadsheet, I've got some ideas, but we need to decide on like a very broad idea in a couple of words. So I've got things like snow-covered, coastal, dust bowl, urban, suburban, somewhere we know, like this but this. So you could have like Alaska but warm. Lots of...
Alaska is plenty warm. Cool. If you like 18 degrees Celsius. Just putting it out there.
So does anyone have any ideas? Does anyone have any like cityscape ideas that are jumping out to them? I should probably give this more framing. This probably needs more framing, doesn't it? Let's do that. The game picks up a couple of months into a war. Multinational interests, whether it be like the government and NATO or whatever, are conducting this large-scale war that is bigger than the people that we're following. The people we're following are these like lost 16, 17-year-old kids that have disconnected from their families for whatever reason and have kind of created their own surrogate family and have found a safe house to bunk down in. They are driven by a couple of different goals. One is that they primarily want to get through the next day. So they need to find stuff to eat and they need to look after each other to get there. The second thing they're driven by is a desire to get out. And they're aware of a group of people smugglers that will get them out of this environment if they can pay, which is certainly a difficult thing when you're a child with no assets in an environment where nothing is valuable and everything is valuable. And so the environment we're building, what we're going to build for them, is the kind of the city that is full of both scarcity and abundance that they're going to engage in for the next little bit.
Ooh, so that's the setting. And so in this phase, we're just trying to nut out a few things we'd like to see, or?
Yeah, good question. So in this phase, we're going to create the environment, and that environment is going to create that setting is going to create those leverages. So what we'll do is, I guess, to go through the whole thing, we'll create a location, a very broad location. We'll discuss that so we've got an idea. Then we'll do that kind of quiet year thing where everyone will sketch a feature within a day or so's travel, interesting buildings, natural features, kind of stuff they're interested in. Tell us a little bit about them. So if you want something that is, focused on multiple groups of people, you can create a high-rise building that's got a couple of floors intact, and in there is a lot of people and that sort of stuff. And so, yes, this is the kind of flagging environment where we can talk about what we're after. But I think we need to kind of get on the same page first. Maybe. Does anyone have anything that's jumping out to them? Any ideas they've got that?
I like that there is like sort of a sort of urban environment, sort of idea in the sense of we're always around urban environments, but it looks really different during the war, so you can sort of see the toll that's taken. So I do like that.
I dig that, and I'm a huge fan of that as well, as someone who lives in a city. I tell you what, let's skip this. I think I'm getting bogged down in this, and I think it's probably too broad to begin the creation on. Let's begin by we'll do the go around the table bit. We'll sketch a feature within a day or so's travel, interesting buildings, natural features, popular locations. Tell everyone what's there. So this Google drawing that you've got there, if you select the scribble tool, it's a pretty good facsimile for drawing. And I think this map is also something that exists within the fiction of the game as well. I think that the reason you don't have to worry about being too good a drawer or being too accurate about it is this is things that the kids have sketched as they've returned. So let's go right to left on my tag. So I went left right last time. So V, do you want to start off by drawing us a feature of some sort?
Yes. So, seeing as we've just been talking about it being a sort of more urban environment, I'm thinking of something like the Central Station, CBD station area. So it's coming out from the underground. And it's currently just a box. But you essentially got the giant tunnels on the city where the subways are, and this is the big central station. There's a little strand of, there used to be shops, convenience stores there. They've mostly been ransacked by now, probably. But a lot of people still go and gather at this central location. Perhaps there's markets or something along the lines of that in certain times of day, but it also can be a very dangerous area to be in, especially late at night or when those markets aren't around.
Oh, I super love it. Super good. Ryan.
Oh dear. My turn to think of something. So since I'm from a coastal city, you all get to deal with that, and there is going to be a major commercial harbor. It's probably...
I was just going to say, I'm a huge fan of the harbor. Tell me more about it.
Probably it's very industrial, lots of shipping containers around. I assume that probably, given that it's wartime, it's somewhat less in use than it might normally be. But if there's stuff you want that's coming in or out, it's probably around there. Although I assume shipments are kind of derailed.
Yeah, I love the idea that it's still somewhat in use, but there's a lot of things fall off the back of trucks there. I think that's perfect.
It would be an easy way to help yourself to things if you can sneak through there.
Mm-hmm. Perfect for the setting. Haley.
Oh, I'm gonna go with. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna go with an abandoned zoo. Old zoo.
You guys are amazing at games.
There was a zoo here. Now, who knows where the tiger is?
Ah, that's so good. Oh man, I need to write a tiger move. All right, that's phenomenal. So, you've said now who knows? Is it is there a reason that people aren't exploring that? Are there stories of what's in there that are keeping people away?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of parts of the zoo that are dangerous because there's legit animals there, and parts of the zoo that are dangerous because there are people there who are dangerous, who like to live in close proximity to the animals.
Right. Of course there are. That's amazing.
Like,
Ari,
how much is a tiger worth in wartime? I'm not sure, but I guess we'll find out.
I imagine if you guys want to, probably a lot.
If it's an escaped tiger, the question is, how much are we worth to the tiger?
Ari, do you want to add something to our map?
Yeah. I was going to throw down a hospital, but since we've got a zoo, I'm going to throw down a veterinary clinic. So the hospital maybe was shelled, and it's, you know, the parts that remain are maybe like really full, but the veterinary clinics may be used as a makeshift, you know, place to get help or get medicine. I mean, I'm going to mute myself because of the sound. I'll draw that in.
Cool. I will definitely have to do a screen share of this once we've got it all done to show anyone that's watching how wonderful this map is going to be. And I need to think of one as well. What do we need? I am going to do a church. And I think the church is important because it is St. Michael's Church. And why does the church interest me? I think it attracts a couple of different people. So like during the week, it's like a meeting place for unsavory people, and then during the weekend they like clear out to let the religious types come in and still conduct regular services. And I like the idea of it like having that agreed dual use. And I'm actually going to put it on the way to down there on the way to the harbour. All right. This map sits on the table of our safe house. It has gaps and inaccuracies, as does the one we've made. We need to figure out collectively: are we safe housing in one of these buildings, or are we in a different one?
Some of these actually look for taking residence, but definitely not the zoo. Maybe the church or the central station.
The central station is too broad, and there'd be too many people for that to be like a hideout. Somewhere near the port or harbor might also be interesting.
Yeah, I love the idea of like a coastal one. So,
yeah.
Well, I think we're in. I don't think we're in any of these. I don't think any of these are suitable. I think we're probably like down along the coast as well. Yeah. Like there?
Yeah. Further down the coast, I mean, we can sketch out whether that's like a corner of an abandoned warehouse or what kind of thing it is, but I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I think we will find out some more about it in a sec. So we need to talk about what 3 resources would be critical to people in this area. So like we can be as specific or as broad as we like, but we need to figure out what resourcing means to us. So the example I've been thinking of is if you had a city that was like snowed in, then like heat and warmth and fuel would be really important resources to consider. But if you had a city that was like Brisbane, that is not a particularly critical thing to have. So the question is, what 3 things would be critical to civilians living in this area? And I've got, for examples, water, food, fuel, medical supplies, clothing, anti-radiation pills, malaria tablets, all that sort of stuff. Does anyone want to shoot out an idea?
I mean, I like the idea of warmth and everything being important currency, but given that I already put the harbor in, we don't really need to make this just Alaska, so other people can have ideas.
So I'm down for it. Let's talk about how like that. Do you want to use warmth as a currency, or do you want to drill into like how that's generated and then use that as a currency?
My first thought would be not warmth so much as like heating fuel, oil, and that kind of stuff.
All right. So I love. Is everyone cool if this is like a cold weather adventure for us? Cool. I love like a kerosene heating fuel thing. Cool. Ellie, if I ask you, are you going to say tigers? Are you going to say tigers as the resource?
Maybe we should keep it classic and kind of go with food being scarce as well.
All right, I love the idea. So this doesn't necessarily mean that it's scarce at this point. It just means that it's important. But food is a great one as well. I don't have a tiger. All right. Cool. Ari, have you got a resource in mind?
Maybe antibiotics.
Cool. I love that. I also love the specificity of it as well. It's super cool. Kerosene, fuel, food, and antibiotics. Cool. So now that we've got a general idea of a setting, which I'm super excited about, which is this kind of cold weather tiger zoo environment. I love the fact that it's coastal. I love the fact there's a harbor right there, and there's this like underground marketing thing. It's fantastic. On the Excel spreadsheet, there's a PCs tab that you'll all be able to see. And if you go there, please start filling in the colored bits. So pick a color. Start off, we've got character name, character pronouns, a couple of descriptive adjectives. There's just 4 you can just pick from the drop-down list, and then that's it. We'll finish there. And while you're doing that, I'm going to show people what this awesome map looks like.
Sorry, Sid, can you repeat that? I'm like looking for this. Which tab is that?
So the tab is the PCs tab at the bottom of the.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
That's it. I'm such a huge fan of this map already. By the way, given that this is a Vomit Draft playtest, I'm also okay if you guys have a look at those adjectives and you're like, all of these are shit. I'm going to put in this instead. And just tell me that you rejected what I've got there, and I will note that down. Oh, and by the way it's set up, I would tell you that I am very generous, kind things that you would say about yourself, and I've heard others call me not so nice, generous things. So the good news is none of my goals are about the collaborative setting generation bit. So if that didn't work, that's totally okay. And we can just push through. Oh, you can so be reckless. I thought reckless was... Yeah, no. Oh man, reckless was on the first draft and it got taken off. That's a good note. Reckless. I love the way it's literally calling it invalid. It's giving a little flag. It's like, this is an invalid option. Cool. So while we're on this sheet, I can have a bit of a chat about it. It's actually a little bit difficult with the screen share, but that's okay. So the character blocks, which are these colored blocks, have character names, pronouns, a couple of descriptive adjectives. That's as much as we've got for character creation at the moment. You guys kind of define what that means to you. And then you've got 3 stats: luck, guts, and bonds. Luck is how lucky you are. Guts is how brave and gutsy you are. Bonds is your malleable interactions with other people. Then we've got our weariness and damage, which is like our health and harm system. Descriptive words, because Haley and V taught me that was a good idea. And then we've got stash at the bottom, which is going to be your resourcing. How you get out of here will be to use that. At the top, you've got the agenda for the game, to portray a scarce, grumbling city, to fill the characters' lives with drama and peril, to hope for the best in the face of the worst, and to play to find the characters' edges. And then just underneath that, you've got scrap. And scrap is going to be the floating resource that you guys will gather and burn, and it's going to represent all those things that we said were important here, like kerosene and food and antibiotics, or heating fuel, food and antibiotics. And that scrap is, as you can see, because it's up the top, is shared by everyone. That's a collective resource, but your stash is personal. And I think once we get a couple more character names, we will be set.
I love how quick. Checkbox, you're done.
Yeah, it's I might put more into it in the end, but at the moment I kind of don't want to spend a lot of time here. I want to spend a bit more time on the next thing, which is going to be great. I love that we have an empathetic dreamer that is naive and rebellious next to a tough, faithful person who is also loud and reckless. Like, it's so good. That's such a great contrast to see between those two characters. Oh, and we've got calm and considerate near loud and reckless as well. This is going to be so good. All right. I think once we get Ryan's character name, we'll be good to go. No rush.
Sorry, I'm blanking on names entirely.
That's right. I was going to have a names list, but I didn't. So you know, deal with that. I'll give you a couple of names. Ari, Haley, V.
Spell our names backwards.
You're right.
If I spell Ari backward,
Ira.
it's almost my name. I can't do that.
Whenever I'm stuck for names and I'm in a published game, I always go to the credits, look up the people who are the credits, and I like do wordplay, get a name out of that.
Well, we are the credits at the moment, so that's even better. All right, good stuff. I've got everyone. Awesome. So we're going to flick to the next tab along is called Setting Generation. If you click on that one, it says at the top, first introduce your character at a surface level, talk in archetypes and broad brushes. You've been together a while. Then tell the others that you're adding 1 to luck or guts now. So starting with Haley, because you haven't started us yet, and also I'm super interested in this. Can you please introduce Tib to us? Talk in archetypes and broad brushes, and then tell us that you're adding 1 to luck or guts.
Yeah, I'd love to know what is luck and guts.
Yep, as in what they do mechanically, or what they
like a lucky person is one who is someone with guts is someone who is
a lucky. So these are the two things that will help you survive.
Mm-hmm.
As in these are the reason that you have survived up until now. Have you survived because you are lucky, things fell your way, you managed to fall in with the right people who got you through what you needed to get through? Or have you survived because you were brave and actionable and you went out and achieved things? I think that probably the most reductive version of it is a lucky person has things work out for them. A gutsy person makes things work out for them.
So this describes... Sorry, I'm asking about this. But does this describe your history or your personality?
Yes, is the answer to your question.
Because those could be opposite, theoretically.
Yes. It describes... So these are stats. They have a mechanical impact, so which means that they're going to influence how you engage with the system and with the world. So I would say it's probably more personality than history.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Really good question, by the way.
So Tib is a tall, lanky person with dark skin. And they... Like, is there anything particularly you'd like to know about them?
No, I think I have some particular questions, but they come up in the next phase of this.
Okay.
So
I could tell you that Tib is tough and faithful, and others have called them loud and reckless.
Yeah, you could. I would be interested to know who was it that called you reckless.
My mother.
Interesting. All right. And like, do you think she's on the money, or do you think that she's just being overly cautious?
As a player, I think she's on the money, and as a character, I think she's being overly cautious. And so I'm going to add 1 to guts.
Okay, I love it, and that works super well for me. All right. I don't know if that's... Yeah. Who is next? Let's go to V next. I don't think you've been second.
Okie doke. So I am going to be playing Philomena, or Phil, as she's known. She's sort of a shorter girl, but she's very well built, and she's been very like an outdoorsy person. Knows a lot about camping, survival, that sort of thing. So I'm going to add one to Guts in the sense that, like, I think the two things that I picked were curious and personable. I'm curious because I'm always trying to learn about new areas of knowledge. So that's sort of how I survived till now, is to rely on what I know about how to survive.
Beautiful. I love it. I think that's a good note for me to take away. Ari, do you want to go next?
Sure. Raj is a dreamer. He's empathetic, naive, and rebellious. Am I supposed to answer a question?
Yeah, I guess. How have you lasted so long? What got you to this point?
Because he's a dreamer, he's always kind of spending time away from people. So a lot of the violence and disruption has kind of escaped, and he's also been very well protected by his family, particularly by his mother. There's a lot of kids in his family, a lot of brothers and sisters. So his older siblings have kind of shielded him from the worst of it.
And what changed? Why aren't you with them anymore?
I think at some point, their part of the city was really under siege, and the family tried to get at least some of the children out. Maybe they paid money, and the people who were trying to get us out didn't do what they promised, and that caused a separation. So now I'm kind of on my own.
Right. That is super on tone for the game as well. Do you will you, for Raj, be adding 1 to luck or guts?
Luck. Luck makes sense.
I think that fits well. Ryan.
I'm playing Theo, who uses he/him pronouns, and I think visually Theo is just kind of a drawn-out sort of person, kind of tall, all angles, wears a lot of very bulky clothing to kind of fill himself out, but he's still kind of made of scrawn. And I would tell you that I am calm and considerate, but I've heard others call me awkward and cold. I think awkward is both physically and socially, because he is just, kind of all angles, doesn't fit into places very well. And cold in the, I'm being considerate and giving you space, but that's not what you wanted now, and I'm just coming off like a distant jerk sort of thing.
I love it. How have you survived up until now?
I think largely by using that sort of calm, cold thing, is that I'm fairly... When it comes fight or flight, it's not so much flight as just kind of disappear into the background and be somewhere else, where he's just kind of always slipping out of the way off to other places. So it really is probably more luck than guts that I keep sneaking past things.
All right, I dig it a lot. So I've got two luckies, 2 gutties. That's good. Now, on the setting generation tab, there are a list of questions. The first column dictates who's involved. The second column gives you questions to ask, and then the third column allows you to give them a directive. So this is how stats are generated in this game. Basically, we talk a little bit about our history, about where we've come from and where we're going, and then that creates stats. So Ari, if you can see that one, Raj is up first, and you're talking to Theo.
Theo. Make sure I know who Theo is. Okay. It's Ryan. Calm, considerate, awkward, cold. Got you. So, Theo, We were the first to find the safe house back when it was a bombed out husk. Why did you bring me to this building? Should I read all of it? What have you done to mark this as your home? And what still reminds you it's an unlivable wreck?
I think I brought you to this building because I discovered that though it looks structurally unstable, it still got most of the supports that I think are important in there, so I don't think it's likely to fall on us. But other people probably would, so we're not going to have to fend off other squatters or anything, I don't think. And I've marked it as my home by sort of bollied up all sorts of bits of things I can get to try to make a nest for myself, essentially, because we're sort of wedged into a corner somewhere. But it still doesn't look great. There's probably bits of rubble around that I haven't bothered to clear away, or maybe I'm not strong enough and don't want to admit that I'm not strong enough to clear them away. So it looks a lot more precarious than I feel like it is still.
Oh yeah, that's a good question, V. Are we talking about the building by the harbor over here? That's what I was assuming.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about.
What is that building exactly, though? So it's, what is it, like a warehouse or something?
Yeah, I mean, all we know about it so far is that it's missing a lot of supports, but Theo's pretty sure it's structurally sound.
I was imagining something with a lot of concrete to it, but I'm not married to anything on there.
No, I like the wrecked warehouse with like big open areas in it, and so there's only like a couple of walls, and some of those are missing.
And like some areas are totally collapsed, but they're not important. I mean, it makes it look like everybody in here is probably dead, but we're not.
Great.
Well, at least it's oceanfront. I'm going to give you +1 guts based on your answer. That makes sense.
All right. And then next is Tib to Phil.
Phil, we were the first to find evidence of those here before us. Who were they? What did you give me that they left behind?
Okay, here before us. So we found a bunch of crates still in a sort of like side room that we pried open. So the crates came from like China, I guess. They were keeping them here for storage. Maybe at some point they were loaded off the boat. And when we cracked that open, we just found a whole bunch of like plastic, you know, those dice things that you hang in the car. We found like a whole crate of those, and they were some of the most useless things ever, but at least they were soft. But while we were rummaging through it, I found one that was like misprinted with 3 sides that were 6s. And so I gave you that one. So you've got a pair of dice that have sort of more 6s than anything else. Or 50% of the sides are 6s. So it's like, well, maybe we'll have some luck rolling these dice. Loaded dice, yeah.
Well, that sounds pretty lucky to me. So
Cutest shit.
increase your luck.
Oh, cool. Now I get one, and mine are fun because instead of me giving you stats, I take your shit away. So, Raj, you were the first to spend a night and day alone outside the safe house. Why were you gone for so long? How did you survive in the blood and dirt?
First, Raj went back to find his family, to find the home, but he found it completely bombed out. That whole block is just gone, so he doesn't know where his family is. Because he's a dreamer, he ended up going to the zoo. And one of the things he did when he was young was his family would take him to the zoo, and he would love to draw pictures of animals. So he spent the whole day, and the zoo is in bad shape, so he probably had a lot of trouble there, finding his way around, but eventually found maybe a giraffe or something crazy, and he was just drawing the giraffe all day. That's what he did. How did I survive?
Oh,
It's pure luck. Yeah,
that's
it's pure luck.
That's fantastic.
He should not be where he was.
No, I think because of your family, because it's about missing them and going to a space where they should have been. I'm going to get you to take one off your bonds, so your bonds will go down to 0.
Okay, let me see. Where is that? Okay, I see it. Cool.
Oh, and then I've got Phil to Tib.
Yeah, so Tib, we were the first to make another suffer to ensure that I wouldn't. Who was it, and what did you take from them to give to me, and how?
Gosh.
Hmm.
I think when I was growing up, there was like this pack of boys that used to like hang around our area and harass people and like throw spitballs at them, and then they got older and started harassing them in other ways, and I always hated them. And when the war started, I think like you got sick, because I know that that's one of the things that is going to be an important commodity in our setting. And so I think I found their hideout, or I already knew where it was, that some of them were. And I think I didn't like, they had just been raided, I guess, or like someone with more guns and more power than us had just come and taken stuff from them. And I sort of went in after they had cleared out, when these guys were like in bad shape. Like some of them were injured and wounded, and like they were sort of scattered. And I found some of the medicine that you needed, and I took it and I ran. But I think they saw me. Like I wasn't sneaking. I was like, fuck you, I'm gonna take these, and I left.
Yeah, I think you should take some guts for that.
Yes.
Guts for days.
Anything that ends with "fuck you" needs to be plus guts.
I don't even I didn't even know how you got that medicine. I just was glad I felt better.
Man.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. Theo, you to Raj.
Sorry, trying to get Cat away from the mic.
Focus.
Now this is Boo this time. He's great big and annoyed that I keep showing him off to the camera. Here's my question again. Raj, we were the first not to have enough between us. Why did you give me your share? What did you expect from me in return? And what did you do when your painful needs stopped you sleeping?
Damn. Why did you give me your share? What do you expect from me in return? Let me look at your character. Oh. Yeah, I was probably drawn to you because you're awkward. I'm empathetic, and I'm a dreamer, and awkward people are interesting to me, and I want to kind of open up to them. So I think what I expected from you in return is to not be cold towards me. And the second part of the question was, what painful needs stop you from, what did you do when your painful needs stop you from sleeping? So I guess I define what my painful need is. I think that is to express myself creatively, the drawing. So I think what I ended up doing is collecting blank papers wherever I could, and pencils and pens, and I started to do portraits of everyone in our group and pin them to the wall to remind us of who we are.
That's super sweet. I think we'll just hold off until Haley gets back.
Okay.
That's right. Everyone okay at this point? Yeah, like I mean, I think we kind of are playing the game at this point, but we're also super close to getting into some fun bits.
Yeah, I can repeat it for Haley if it's gonna help.
We'll see what she missed. Whatever. Actually, let's take this opportunity. Does everyone want to take a 5-minute break and come?
Yeah, that'd be perfect for me.
Yes, let's do that. Catch you guys in 5:17 past. Oh, Haley, we're just taking a break a bit. Thank you. Sorry. I didn't see what you said, P. You were muted. That's okay. All right. So while they're on a break, we're going to be talking about this game, about how we feel. How do we feel? It's very difficult to express things out loud when you've been writing them for so long. So that's definitely a big thing. I think we also found that starting with general conceit stuff is probably a little bit too broad. One of the things I really wanted to do was to be like, instead of doing the thing where you're like, you decide this, you decide this, you decide this, was to start with like a really broad thing and be like, hey, as a group, how about we all talk about something that interests you? But for some reason, the community structure just doesn't, it's weird bystander effect stuff. It just doesn't happen. So I think I need to start with those smaller immediate demands. I think it needs to start with, like I can't remember how the quiet year itself works. I'm just bringing it up now. Yeah, it starts with beginning with a brief discussion of the general terrain and habitat. So this is pretty much quiet year. I'm wondering why it didn't work there. Maybe I'm not giving it enough boundaries. Quiet year's not a lot of boundaries either. We'll have to look into that. But maybe start with smaller, more immediate demands. This setting generation stuff that we're in the middle of is giving me a lot of really good stuff to work with. Like I feel like we can throw this into full game. I feel like we know more about the characters than we did before. I don't know if we need 4 rounds of it. So where are we up to now? We're up to 6 and 12. So we're about halfway through. It's a little bit too long. I think each one takes about 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think everyone takes about 5 minutes, maybe somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. So 12 of them might be too long. Does mean that not every character is going to have a connection to every character. Not every character is going to have an obligation to every character. I don't know how I feel about that. Haley asked a really good question about what is luck and guts and intro questions. I'm probably going to remove luck and guts and go back to Liberté stats at some point. But for now, they're effective. Yeah, it's really difficult. Really difficult. I'm very happy with a lot of how this is coming together. I've got a really good idea of the safe house. I've got a really good idea of we've got this zoo thing. We've got the group that the boys that Tib took something from are like a really good conflict point. I feel like I understand the characters, or at least this opening bit of characters really well. I think the question is like, am I getting enough out of this that we should be doing 12 of them? Like we're almost an hour and a half into the first session and we haven't rolled some dice, which I've always said is a bad idea. But I feel like we are playing the game in the same, vein as the quiet year thing. It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's got to be a question I ask at the end. Did setting generation feel like play? And overall, so the important thing for me here as an owl drawer is that I'm going back to these goals. So move, resolution, structure works. Players want to achieve things, no more than one dead end roll. Like I need to make sure that I'm not getting too down on myself with this, because like I'm feeling like it's stalling. I'm feeling like it's not interesting to people, and I don't know. And I don't want to ask now, because if I say, is it interesting to you? And people are like, not really. And I'm like, well, like I have no fucking tools to rectify that at this point. So we're just going to have to press and find out. I think it does escalate. Hey, B. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Haley. Thanks for breaking my rhythm, Ari. How's everyone going so far?
Good, good. Still lots to learn about our characters and our house, a safe house.
Yeah, I mean, like that's this. We're learning some things, but is it interesting? Are you guys interested in what you're learning, or
Yeah,
is it?
it is interesting. I think it's a good warm up, and I like that it's a structured, sort of bite size initially. So you're kind of all building small bits of it, and you can listen to other people's stories and add layers and layers on top of that. So I think that's really interesting. Good way of doing it.
Yeah.
I like that the building the place and building the characters kind of weaves back and forth between each other, because I know that I'm generally more, I don't care about the setting, give me the people. And here it's like, no, we need some of both, and you can have your vegetables. So it works.
Eat your broccoli, Ryan. How are you going, Haley?
Yeah, good. I'm enjoying it. These questions are very interesting. They're interesting in a lot of ways. I like that they like set the scene for the kind of things that happen in the game and put the characters in those experiences already when the game has begun. It's funny that the questions that you get will shape the personality of your character. If you had a completely different set of questions, maybe they'd have a very different personality. So I find that interesting.
You actually hit the design intent for it right at the start, which is it's a tutorial. Like it's showing you these are things that happen, and we want to see like how you react to that. I don't know. I'm interested by that. The question that you said about like different questions shaping different characters.
Yeah, like Tibbs got, we were first to make another suffer, and I've got first to piss off somebody who wanted revenge.
Yeah.
And then in the middle there, I think I've got a more neutral one about first to find a safe path to the communities around us. But basically, I'm set up to be like I'm ready to bring the awful, and I'm doing it.
I mean, maybe that's just the start, though. Maybe Tim becomes someone even better.
For sure, and you can go anyway with those questions. I think it's just interesting.
I think. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I like how the set of mine sort of combines to indicate, the larger question of so the war has just kind of been happening to you. Why have you been consistently just around? Because some of them are like you're pushing this, and mine's like, so
yeah,
you just happened to be there. So you trusted someone and it went wrong. Tell us why you have been beaten down by this, and it's a fun set of them.
Yeah, it is. It is. I have thoughts about that, but I won't go into it now. But I think there's some pattern, like some human being pattern stuff happening there where you guys like, this is like matching character stuff. And I'm like, well, you could also do it the other way, but like, I totally get it. Anyway.
It works out if it's going to be just character astrology here or whatever.
It is character astrology. That's such a good term for it. Before we move on any further, Theo, I think you need to give Raj some luck or guts for that previous one.
Oh, right. Okay. So, I'm gonna say guts, because that felt more like doing something active to try to improve the world around him versus just looking through it.
Cool. I dig.
All right.
I get to talk to Phil. Phil, you were the first to hear the gunshots that day. Where were you? Who got hit? And how did you get back to the safe house under fire?
Ooh. Okay, so I think we were at the port or the harbor area, all of us. And I had asked everyone to come with me to the port to try and scrounge for some scrap. And as I was, putting together a little sack of stuff to take back, we started hearing the gunshots. We weren't the only one there. I'm not quite sure why they were, coming at us, but I think they maybe have just thought that we had more stuff than what we actually did. Who got hit? Oh, who wants to be hit? Does anyone have a preference? I'd like
Totally
to
hit me. I am game for that.
All right, go for it. So, that's Theo, right? You're playing. Theo was hit. And how did we get back to the safe house under fire? So once Theo was hit, I don't even know if they were accidentally hit or they were actually aiming at us. It was that out of the blue, like a bolt from the blue kind of situation. And we we had some stuff on us. I had to abandon half the stuff we'd collected and use, the top that was making that sack into a makeshift sort of sling. And that's how we carried you home.
Cool. I really like it. I guess I have another question that I need to ask so I can make a decision here. How long ago was this?
Couple of months ago.
Cool. All right. So Theo's gotten better since then, but you did have to leave some stuff behind. So I'm going to take your scrap down from 4 to 3. Oops. Just to represent you guys leaving some stuff behind there. That's fun. Who's up next? I think it's you, Ari.
Yes. Okay. This is for Tib. We were the first to find a safe path to the communities around us. How did you lead us there the first time? What were you looking for? And what did they demand of us?
I think that underneath the warehouse where we live, there's like a loading and unloading area onto the train line that goes through the central station. And I think we didn't necessarily know what it was at first. I think Tib thought it was a security threat. And so people can get in through this. So we followed the line down and came up at the central station area. And it was funny because it's so quiet and dead still and silent and scary under the ground. And then suddenly we came up in the middle of this makeshift marketplace where the people yelling at each other and trying to sell and trade things. And it's just overwhelming with the sunlight and the people. What did they demand of us? I think something cool.
Oh, sorry, what were we looking for? We were looking for others or a place to trade. Is that what it was?
I think we were looking for it was more about the building. It was why is this here? What does it do? trying to think of something interesting they could have demanded. But I think it was like something along the lines of like they demanded things in return for other things. Like we learned about the barter economy, and they sort of were like, you are the ones who risk your lives to go out and get things, and then you come back to us and we give you the things that you need in exchange for those things you risked your life for.
I got you. Yeah, so it's like the demand was for us to be a part of their goods and commodities exchange.
So these adults are like, children, go out and risk your lives. Get things. You are young and fit. We expect this of you. Wow, fuck grown-ups, man. So Ari, do you want to throw a stat to Tib for that?
Yeah, that sounds like guts to me. Just going through that tunnel, pressing on, getting to this place, facing a bunch of adults, takes some grit. So yeah, guts.
Awesome. Tib, I think you're up next.
Yeah. So Theo, we were the first to scavenge from the wreckage. What was the building we scored before it was rubble? What simple relic of before the war did you bring back to me?
I think it was not quite a proper grocery store, but sort of a 24/7 Walgreens sort of place, where it's got some convenience food and some medicines and stuff. And we were going, we've got to get there quickly before it gets totally picked over. It probably already somewhat picked over. And then it was later totally shelled out and we can't go back there again. And regardless of what useful stuff we might have gotten, I think I found just like probably a really tacky souvenir t-shirt of some kind that no one would really love, but it's still mostly in one place. There's no bullet holes or anything. It clearly hasn't been scavenged. It was fresh and it looked like it was about your size. So I offered it to you.
Well, that's awesome. I'm going to give you guts for that, for pulling a t-shirt out of the wreckage when we're in a grocery store. That's nice.
Do you wear the t-shirt or
Yeah.
does it like sit somewhere else?
Yeah, I wear it.
It's adorable. I think it's me. I do. I turn to Theo. Theo, you were the first to experience the unique intimacy of the war. Who did you approach? How did you make yourself vulnerable? And how did they make you realize it was a mistake?
I think the first people I approached were a sort of small mixed group of adults because, when you're worried, you find a grown-up, right? Except that I was a lot smaller and more, I'm fairly tall and everything, but less mass and probably more eager to please than they are. And so I ended up doing a lot of the running and scavenging and realized that I keep getting sent into these stores and stuff to try to get stuff and they're not backing me up. And at one point I think we probably ran away from somewhere and they just left me and realized that I was a resource and not a person to them. And so I'm now with a completely different group of people.
Oh shit. You guys are wrecking me. I think you did a fair bit of work for them and it drained you a bit. So let's increase your weariness if you want to step yourself up from drained to beat there. Makes me super happy.
Are these a group of people that are still around? You ever see them from time to time in the marketplace? Or at Central Station or around the city? Are you aware of them?
Yeah, let's say that I definitely see one or two of them at a time, not generally in a group. and maybe they've gotten some new people and lost some old people or something. And I just try not to make a deal of it, but I'm kind of awkward. You can probably tell that there's stuff there.
Do you want to give me a name for one of them? Because I know you're so good at names today, Ryan.
Yes, I'm the best at names. I have all the names. I know, like, more than one of them. Oh my goodness, I suddenly can't remember my coworkers' names. What the heck? Let's go with Bernard.
I love Bernard. I think it's hard to miss Bernard when you see him around. Who's next?
Okay, next question. So Raj, we were the first to hear about the smugglers. Where did you begin stashing away your valuables, and when did you notice it was gone? I'd also like to know how we heard about the smugglers.
Muted Ari. I'm sure it's all gold, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gold, but I was definitely muted. I think the first time we heard about the smugglers was through our trading community.
Okay.
They were hitting people on their way out or on the way in, targeting them when they're more isolated. And look at the question again. Who told us about them? Yeah, our trading group where you led us. They're the ones that told us about it. Where did you begin stashing away your valuables? About that church, we haven't used that church for anything, have we?
Not yet.
Yeah. How about how old is this church? I was thinking like a church undercroft, but that may be too archaic.
I'm down for it.
Yeah.
You're cool with that? So maybe like the undercroft of this church. Church is mostly intact, but a lot of people are afraid to go there because of what's happening. So we kind of slip in there and go down into the sort of lower levels of the church and hide things in the dark down there. It's kind of refrigerator. So if we have any perishables, it stays cool. When we noticed when it was gone, maybe a few weeks after the smugglers first started to hit that community, they may have followed us and found out that we were keeping things there.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you found out it was gone? Your stash, so I can help you.
Look at my character's stats. What makes the most sense? Naive. I'm naive. I think it was. I think it was our trading hub itself. I think they were setting us up. They were trading things with us, and then informing the smugglers, and then putting them on our trail to clean us out.
Okay, so
I'm suspicious of them.
Yeah. Okay. Guts or luck? Although it was unlucky that I think the valuables were stolen and that, I think it was lucky that we heard about the smugglers in the first place, like this way out.
Okay.
Do you have a preference? With the luck or guts? It's very in the middle for this story, I think.
Yeah. I'm ambivalent about it. Go with what you're feeling.
Okay, I'll give you some luck then. I think that'd be fun.
All right, I'm feeling lucky.
I think we've got one more.
Yep.
Yes.
I turned to Phil. So, why were we the first to talk about? Oh, wait. Would help if I had reading comprehension. Okay. We were the first to talk about what we've got to remind us of home. What do you have? Why is it so important to you? Why did you give it to me?
So shortly after we took you back home about 2 months ago when you got shot, I think it like in the maybe like in the leg or something. Obviously you were in bed for a while, and so I felt sort of responsible because I was the one who sort of organized that trip out, and I didn't have any answers about why it was so dangerous. I thought it was just going to be deserted there. So we chatted a lot and bonded, I think, then, and we ran out of things talked about pretty quickly. So I just sort of rambled on about home. What do I have? I have a jet boiler that boils 1 cup of tea. Requires some sort of fuel, obviously. It reminds me of home because it's like I used to go camping a lot with my family when I was a bit younger. I gave it to you because, to make you feel better. At least a warm cup of tea is such a rare and exciting moment in our lives that I sort of felt really bad, and I think that's why I gave it to you. And when you give someone like something like that, and you just kind of want to see them be really happy, because it lessens your guilt. I think it was sort of that sort of moment, rather than like, I'm giving it to you because I'm generous.
Well, Theo is known for good emotional reactions to situations. Did you, Theo? Did you give them the happiness, or did you give her the happiness that you?
I think Theo was just sort of awkwardly touched, like, but this is important to you, right? You don't really want to give this to me, and just sort of like hesitant about using it because, like, clearly Phil, wants this back. I mean, she's not really giving it to me. What? And probably, I guess if you're really good at reading Theo, probably you can see that he's terribly touched, but otherwise, not so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's why I haven't taken it back, because I feel like, oh no, like it's too awkward to ask for it back, or maybe we'll have to have a moment where you brew some tea and feel good before I feel like, okay, it's all right. It's a little bit up in the air and a little bit awkward. I think that's cool. I love that.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
And here's where I would normally consult the thing, but what's a major luck guts difference again?
Look, dog, I'm not very good at making games, so I don't know. Why don't you tell me what you think it is?
Oh no.
Why don't you generate some buy-in to the system or something like that?
Okay, because I'd been thinking, guts is more the physical thing and luck is more passive, but I feel like I want to make this one luck because it's less active thing and more an emotional, psychological attempt to connect sort of thing that sort of fell flat, but you tried.
Sounds perfect. That is a great assessment.
Yeah, I like that. I feel that's really good.
Yep, could certainly have better stats, correct. Great. One more. Tib, you were the first to piss them off and they want revenge. What did you do? What did you get for it? And how do you plan to tell the others what you've done?
So, other than the group of boys who I blatantly stole from just after they'd been raided, who probably meet the criteria for this question as well, I think so. Tib is religious, and we as our Raj established, we use the church sometimes to hide things and perishables and store stuff. And on the weekend, there's a service there. During the week, it's kind of like known that it's known that it's in use by these shady gangs, but they're not always there. And I think during the week when we went to hide some stuff there, there was some people who'd snuck in from a gang whose turf this is not part of. Let's call them by their geographic area. Like maybe let's call them the East Zoo gang, like or the West Zoo gang, like they hang out near the zoo. That's where they're from. Anyway, so they came in with an intention to like wreck the place, to leave a message. But Tib was like, oh shit, can't let them like tear down the altar and like the statue of the pictures of Jesus and all that stuff. The statue of St. Michael, I don't know what denomination that would be, but you know. And so I think they basically went outside and like kicked down a power line that was almost collapsed. And the whole, like, there was like a giant noise as it collapsed, and like it started like a domino. I think the one next to it collapsed, and the guard from the gang that's normally in those areas like heard the noise, and like people started coming over, and the people from the West Sioux gang like tailed it. I guess they ran out. And as they ran out, they would have seen me being there, like the closest one in the vicinity next to the power lines, like caught up in this tangle, and sort of like looked at me, daggers, and I would have been like, oh shit. Oops.
Oh, that's awesome. I reckon. Yeah, I think that's a fairly active thing. So I'll get you to increase your weariness by 1. As you untangle yourself and drag yourself out of the power lines there.
Do you pick or do I pick?
It scales up. It's yeah.
It
should be just a checkbox thing.
So I can tick beat or I see it's drained, beat, and out. I see it goes up.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it goes up. So, and we'll talk about that in a sec, because that's dope. I feel like I have awesome setting stuff, and I had one more setting thing that I was going to do, but I don't think it's super necessary, and I don't think it's something I want to do or want to spend time on at the moment. So instead, how about we get into playing a game? Does that sound good? Does anyone want to take a break before that, or is everyone good to go? I'm okay with either. Good.
I'm okay to go.
Okay. Sounds like we're good to go. So if you guys open up the Google Drive link I sent you, there's a PDF that is the procedure for the game and the moves list and all that sort of stuff. I want to really quickly just burn through the moves list, because being PBTA, it sort of helps you know what you can do. First off, there's your fiction interrogation moves. You can read an area. You can... oh, no, I should talk about the first thing. So the way this game works that's different to most PBTA is when you do a move, you don't act alone. You can, but it's certainly not beneficial to you. When you make a move that demands a roll, everyone who is involved rolls 1d6 each and adds their relevant modifier to get the result. We then take the group's 2 highest results, and that acts as our PBTA dice. So if the 2 highest results are both over 5, you get your really good, strong hit. If they're both under 4, you get your miss condition. If they're in the middle, you get what you want with a cost. Make sense to everyone? So with 3 people, you just kind of remove the lowest dice. With 4 people, you remove your lowest 2, that sort of thing. When you act alone, a 6+ gives you the highest result, a 3 to 5 gives you the lower result, and a 2- gives you the miss. So it's acting alone or with NPCs is bad. What else can we talk about first? I want to talk about stats. They'll come up as they come up. Won't talk about weariness or damage at this point. Yeah, cool. So moves. Fiction interrogation. You can feel people out. You can read the lay of the land. And they're both good for figuring out what you want to do. If you want to recover, you can try to forget the war. That's good for those moments of brewing tea on camp stoves, playing Monopoly in the dark, that sort of thing. That's really good for get the war fodder. You can share what little you have, which is our intimacy move. What that means is up to us. So you can be sharing time, space, food, antibiotics, warmth, bed, like whatever. You can tend to someone's damage, which is the actual healing aspect of it. But one of the key things about damage and weariness and stuff in this game is that it's not necessarily all physical. So like your emotional draining counts as much as well. So tending to someone's damage can mean sitting around and having a good meal with them, or it can mean putting bandages on wounds. Conflict moves, you can go toe to toe, which is the telling people how things are going to be, asserting your will. You can become the war, which is your violence move. If you ever get violent to people, you act alone. Enjoy that. And you can resource moves. You can scrounge around looking for more scrap. You can rest and recover. And finally, once you've built up some stash, you can escape the war. So you can, spend that stash to be gone. That's pretty much the base of it. One thing I will point out is that the stakes of the moves are all very fictionally driven. So like whether you find one stash or you find one scrap or three scrap in a location is kind of up to what is fictionally relevant and what the stakes of the move are. And that pacing is part of my principal sort of setup. Any questions at this point before we jump into things?
What do bonds represent? Because it looks like you spend them and they're hard to get back, but they're sort of group instead of with specific people.
Yeah, so bonds represents your engagement with others. So when you have time with people, when you spend time with people, you will increase bonds. And when you act with people in certain things like the intimacy move or that sort of stuff, you can reduce bonds, spend them. So every time you roll with bonds, you'll reset it to 0, but it's also the floating one that you can increase. All this stuff was so clear in my head. Why do you people make me say things out loud? So uncomfortable. All right.
It's better than reading your mind.
Well, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to do that. But let's begin with You guys give me so much good stuff. It's actually hard to pick where I want to start. I think we begin with Raj. What are you actually? I know a little bit about you. Let's ask Theo instead. Theo, what are you doing in the safe house early one morning when you hear someone like beating at the door that you've set up?
I'm probably trying to organize food stuff for kind of a little family breakfast sort of thing where it's sort of like get up early, do this thing, no one really asked me to, and maybe no one really is into it, but I'm just sort of awkward scarecrow going like, okay, we're gonna have this, and then we'll all sit here, and I can kind of fashion a table kind of thing, and it'll be family breakfast, everything will be awesome, and then the door knocks, and I probably knock the table entirely over because it wasn't very good to begin with.
All right. You hear a beating on the door, and there's like a deep, almost growl of a voice coming from the other side. And you probably can't make out the words at this point, but you can tell that they're upset about something. They're angry about something.
Yeah. And I just freeze because, oh no, this can't be going well. But if I don't answer the door, they're going to come in, and that would be worse. And maybe I can contain the damage if I go and talk to them, and it won't spill over to everyone else. So I'm going to go open the door just like a little crack.
Great. And this is a fairly small, like, contained environment that your safe house is in. Who do you look to over your shoulder to, like, or do you look to someone else for support, or is this like big brave Theo?
I think I sort of glanced toward Tib and sort of think, well, okay, but I can't just have Tib solve all the problems. I gotta do this myself. And besides, everyone kind of stuck their neck out for me. I need to do my own now.
Okay, cool. The door opens, and standing there are there's probably 3 or 4 people of like across the gender spectrum, and they're all wearing the same hat, and it's this like flap hat that is black and orange and looks like tiger stripes, and this is the hat that they got from the zoo's gift shop, and it's like their gang uniform, right? And this is your West Zoo peeps, and they're at the door, and I think the first one, like, as soon as you open the door a little bit, shoves his arm up against the door, and he's like, "You got that lanky fuck in there?" And he's like pressing on the door against you.
And I'm sort of knock off balance, but then kind of press back, like you can't open it further. And be like, that lanky fuck speaking.
And like narrows his eyes, like, nah, not you, the other one, the one with the dark skin. I know they come in here.
Oh, okay. Kind of glance over my shoulder to see if Raj wants to do this, or if he is missing or dead today,
I mean,
or
like,
something.
They are describing Tib to you perfectly.
Oh, Tib. Okay, I'm totally doing the glancing toward Tib in a are you here? Are you out right now? How should I answer this call? Sort of thing.
Yeah, Tib is already like in the next room, hiding around a corner.
Nope.
Gorgeous.
Not here. Haven't seen him all week. I mean, haven't seen them all week.
His eyes like narrow a little bit, and he leans and he's like, we're able to take out a few of the smaller animals. We've got plenty of fresh meat at the zoo. If you fancy a trade. And he pushes a little bit harder against the door.
Doesn't sound like you want to trade so much as, I mean, you're pushing awful hard here. What is it you want?
I think do you want to, and you're on your own here, which is great because we're going to see what this mechanic looks like when you're not there. Do you want to? It sounds like you're trying to feel them out. Do you want to give that?
Yeah, I'm totally trying to feel them out.
What's your guts?
My guts is +1.
Cool.
Is feel them out a distinct move? I'm flipping up and down here.
Yeah. It's under the.
I was seeing read the lay of the land and then missing it right beneath there.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I'm not very good at graphic design. I'm gonna have to ask V about that later. So when you fill them out, you roll plus guts. You're not going to be able to get the sync result because you're acting alone. On a 6+, you'll get the highest result, which you'll ask one of the list below, and the player will ask one back. On almost anything else, you will ask one, but you won't like the answer, and their player will ask you one back.
That seems appropriate. Mm-hmm. So I'm just rolling 1 die?
Yeah, you're just rolling a single d6, and you're adding your guts.
Cool.
Man, if you had some friends that were helping you, you would...
Oh, yeah, but, I don't...
I like the way I'm like opening up options for people to insert themselves into scenes, and you're like, no, not a chance.
Well, I'm totally trying to, just take one for the team.
Oh, nice.
Save them. But I got a 7. Ha.
Okay, cool. So on a 7, you can ask one, and they'll ask you one back. You physically asked what do they want from me, but if you want to pick a different question, you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with what do they want from me.
Sorry, what movie is this? I want to follow along.
Feel them out.
Yeah, it's second on
Okay.
the left-hand side of the fiction interrogation moves page.
He takes off his hat and holds it in his hand, like in this big gesture of openness. And he says, I just want to take your friend away and teach them that they shouldn't be messing with us. That, you know, this is a hard world and we've got to all be on the same side. And I think your tall friend just doesn't really know how to work with us. And the question I'm going to ask you is, he looks in and like behind you, he can see that the safe house is like a little bit, you've thrown all this stuff on the ground, like the table's not set up, the safe house is like a little bit ramshackle. And he just says, surely you need something. And I'm asking, what is your most immediate need?
And I get to just pick whatever our most immediate need is.
Yeah.
Hmm. All of them offer cool fiction stuff. I'm going to go with just the obvious one that we do need some food. I just don't really like the terms he's offering so far.
Okay. And he nods. He says, okay. The good thing about being hungry is that it never goes away on its own. And he says, I'll see you later. What was your name again?
You didn't give me your name.
Oh, sorry. And like he shifts the hat into the other hand and holds out a handshake for you. And he says, I'm Marco. It's a real pleasure.
I'm Theo. It's something like that.
Yeah. And it's like a tight squeeze. It says, cool. I'll see you later, Theo, and let me know if you get hungry, hey? And just like puts his little too small for his head flat cap back on. And begins to leave.
And Theo just immediately closes the door and kind of slumps it like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Feels like not sort of kind of comes into a room and is looking really concerned that they know where we are. Sort of and then sort of expresses that to Theo. Sort of.
Yeah, they know where we are and they want Tib. And they want to teach Tib a lesson, they said.
And so there's like that, I sort of look over to where Tib is. Kind of asking for an explanation.
They'll get over it.
That's
But
your
Tib's
answer?
not really sure. Yeah, that's Tib's answer, but they're not really sure. You know, like they don't sound convinced.
I mean, they don't sound like they're getting over it.
Well, it's only been 2 days.
You knocked down their power line, right? Those are the same people? Yeah, okay. I look up from my stack of like art supplies where I've been kind of hiding, and I say, serves them right. I think they're the ones that took all our supplies from the church. You go back there and knock down the rest of the power lines.
They're offering food, though, but I think it's in exchange for Tib, so that's off the table, obviously. But they know where we are, so it didn't sound like they were taking no for an answer for very long.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a difficult problem for us in the future. We should probably do our part to make this place safer. And sort of like you can see Phil thinking, starting the cogs turn. Maybe there's some sort of like alarm or lookout we can post, or rig up a safety system, essentially like an alarm ringing. That might be something we could do.
And partway through this, I think Theo just walks off, and it sort of looks like he's not paying attention, but also he's definitely just looking for ways to shore up the door.
Yeah, if we go to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's good and all, but if they are going to come back with guns or something, what are we going to do? Oh, alarm goes off. Oh, they're here with guns. All right. Maybe we should move underground.
Yeah, hey, maybe if we go to the zoo and we get some elephants and tigers and we put them around, they won't come here anymore.
And Phil sort of just
logically, Raj.
Phil whacks Raj in the back of the head, like, look, this is serious, like, but it's so almost comical enough to sort of lighten the mood a little bit, I guess, because it feels like a little bit, but
I love let's do the bit. I love it because there is actually a move for this, which is
cool.
Yeah, this is what this is about. So I think Raj and Phil are the two involved in this. There's a move when for even a moment you forget the war.
Ah, yeah, it's that one. That's good.
And we will ignore the bit about you using scrap to enjoy the finer things because that's not fictionally relevant here, so I'm okay with that. But then you guys will roll plus luck.
So we roll one each?
1d6 each.
1d6 each.
Who's rolling? Raj is rolling?
Yeah. If you can, Ari, let us know.
I'm pretty sure I can now because I figured out what the problem was with the dice. Four. It's just 1d6?
1d6 and then add your luck.
Okay. What color are you using, V?
I don't know how this works.
There you go. You rolled a 6. And you're red.
Yeah,
that's my old
the red was right.
Okay, so it looks like somebody rolled a clear die. That might be you.
That's me.
Also,
I
think you're short one stat as well because you should have either a +2 and a -1, a 2 + 1. Sorry, a +1 and a 0, or yeah.
You're right. I think it's
my stats correct.
Yeah. I hadn't added my guts.
Cool.
Is that right?
Yeah. If my stats aren't right, let me know. Anyway.
Luck, sorry. Luck.
I'm going to go with purple die.
Okay, so...
It did. I got a 4.
Hey, nice. So what are your totals each?
So we adding... Sorry.
You're adding luck.
+1 to the luck, so I got a 4.
4, cool. And what did you get?
Yeah, I got a +1 to my roll. So whatever I got, 5 total.
Cool. So when your highest result is 5, but the next highest result is 4 or less, you will get some of what you want, but there'll be a cost. So on the move, if you guys can see it there, it's under the recovery, fiction, interrogation, recovery move sheet. When even for a moment you forget the war, roll plus luck, higher result. It's not home, but just for now it feels like it. Would you like to choose one from that list?
I mean, it's simple, but it reminds you of what you're fighting for. So who chooses it?
So the person, Oh, the person who rolled the higher result chooses the higher
Okay.
result one. The person who rolled the lower result chooses that one.
Okay.
So Ari will choose the higher result one, and V, you'll choose the lower result one.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with you all add 1 to your bonds. So
Cool.
is this between me and V?
It's when it says you all, it refers to those who are involved in the roll. So it'll be the two of you.
Yeah, so I'll take a bond. +1.
Yeah, right. Trying to... Ooh, let's do the war doesn't want to be forgotten.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because that's a good one. Because
Yep.
we're trying to make light of a really serious situation. It makes sense.
Yeah, you are. You are. So I think there's like the laughter and like joviality, the levity that comes from you guys hanging out together and making this joke about the zoo, and then as you're like, I think probably as your hand connects with the back of Raj's head, you hear this like thunderous explosion that feels as if it's coming from like immediately under your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel and can hear the rush of heat that comes up that loading dock that leads to the train line.
Mm-hmm.
And it as like that wave of heat rolls over you, it's just enough to like make the room feel comfortably warm again. You feel the foundational supports of the safe house just shift a little bit.
It's the sound of all my brain cells rupturing from the impact of your blow.
What? And Tib cautiously starts heading towards the loading dock.
I follow down. I think we should look into sort of the underground areas a second time, for sure. Does the damage look bad? Can we tell? Is there
I think
a
as
immediate
soon as
crack?
you step towards it, it's like it just looks dirty and messy. Like there's all this dust that's hanging in the air, and it's probably a little bit difficult to see through. And by the time you get to the dock, the loading unloading section that reaches the train lines, you can start to see the first bits of like rubble. And you can see the like collapsing the collapsing archway of the roof that would hold up the train line has or the hold up the roof above the train line is starting to crumble away and fall, and with it it's taking like the side of this warehouse in which you're living. So I imagine the warehouse is like has lots of bombed out sections that you guys can't enter because it's all kind of and these bits are like starting to sink into the ground. And probably from out of the window you can see the like the impact point of the bomb that caused this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we got to get out of here. We can't stay here. Start grabbing my art supplies and looking to see if anyone is in on that.
Yeah, I feel like I disagree. This is a dangerous spot, but I don't think we've got anywhere else better to go. Let's not make a hasty retreat. Should we take a look around and see if at least there's a better place in this sort of in this building area to sort of set up instead? Maybe we should look around this area, whether it's underground or above ground.
Can we get a look at all at where? Because you said we could see the point where the explosion came from.
Yeah. You absolutely can. In fact, if you're taking a look at that, do you want to engage with that read the lay of the land move?
Would anyone else like to take a look?
Yeah, I imagine we're just sort of doing this as a group, this lay of the land, as we're trying to gather enough information to decide what we're going to do with our home.
Yeah, absolutely. And all four of you are welcome to roll and just take the 2 highest results. You're adding luck to this one as well.
That's a 3, so I'm probably not helping much.
2.
Oh, you can label it. I rolled a 6. +1, 7.
I
So,
got
all
2 total. It
right.
looks like.
Boy. Oh boy, man! I thought you guys were gonna hit fences with that one. All right, so V, you're the highest with your 7. Who's next highest? Did anyone get a 4, or is it both of you 3s?
Yeah, I have 0 luck, so mine's a 3.
Cool. And Haley's a -1 luck, so it's you, Ryan. So V and Ryan, V, you when you read the land, both roll plus luck. On a higher result, there's good news. Choose one, and for the lower result, and there's bad news. So you'll both choose a question of that.
Okay. What will it cost to get to secure our home? I guess is going to be my question.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, how can we patch it up?
So you'll need something structural. You'll need like a you'll probably need something to brace it. So either some metal or wood, and that's going to be something that's pretty specific.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but certainly not unable to be found. Ryan?
I love this question, so even though it's going to go badly for us, I have to ask it. What crucial detail have we noticed too late?
Oh, beautiful. What crucial? So tell me what you're doing. Can you describe to me what you're looking at as you, like, how you're reading this situation?
I think Theo's back to trying to evaluate like how structurally secure this place is, and like if we know that these are probably load-bearing columns and stuff, then how much is actually going to fall in here? Like, is there a possibility we could just ignore this and we don't need that part of the floor anymore?
Right. So what you notice too late is
understanding of architecture.
No, that's perfect. So Theo, what you notice too late is that there's a section of roof that is going to fall. Now the question is, you notice it early enough that you see that it's gonna hit Tib. Do you?
Is there a move for trying to grab Tib and haul them out of the way?
I think it's gonna hit one of you. Do you drag Tib out of the way and take the hit yourself?
Yeah, I'm totally gonna just do the like dive and shove at Tib and not make it out of the way in time.
Cool. I think when you like come out of this like this chunk of roof comes down and you get Tib out of the way, and when that happens and people see you afterwards, you've just probably got like a pretty light on head wound, and I think more than anything, that dust that was in the air before, like all your vision's just that cloudy kind of dusty look now. And there's a box on your sheet for messy. Give that one a tick for us. Yeah. And I think the only thing I want to bring up at this point, because I think we're starting to understand it, is that the out tag has one mechanical thing to it, which is when you've marked out, you're unconscious, ostracized, lost in grief, or similar. You cannot act with others unless you spend a couple of scrap to do it first. and when you do, you can't get that really nice both high result. So I just wanted to bring that up there.
What is messy damage? What is that? What does that mean?
What does it mean to you?
My first read of it is it's more psychological. So
Yep.
you're confused or out of sorts, but
spot on.
Yeah,
sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking more complications versus clear. I lost my ability to frame a sentence, but yeah, not a clear you've ticked down your hit points, but more everything you're doing is harder now, sort of thing.
Yeah. Ryan's laughing pretty hard with his inability to form a sentence. So I mean, you've got a little bit of information, but I'm really interested, just quickly, Tib, what do you do when that happens? When Theo throws you out of the way?
And the roof collapses on top of Theo?
Like a section of the roof or a section of the floor above. I imagine probably like probably a couple of kilos of concrete.
I pull, I guess I try to pull Theo out of the roof section too late after Theo has already pushed me out of the way and yell "Sweet Mother Mary" and grab Theo and try to stabilize him and check that he's okay.
Is this so would you like to try to fix him? Because there is a 10 to someone's damage move.
No.
But yeah.
That's not what I'm doing.
Yep,
it's literally you're not about to die. It's just a check. It's not I'm not tending to Theo. I'm just checking Theo is not unconscious or anything.
Sounds perfect.
There's definitely bleeding there, right? Oh no.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh no. Are you okay?
So I think Theo's just kind of a bit dazed and no, it's fine, and kind of looks at his head and there's some blood there. No, it's all okay. And it's
So I think the assessment that Phil makes and sort of have a discussion as a group is that it's salvageable. I know it's raining down around us, but it only needs a couple of support structures here. A couple of really heavy timber braced against that wall is going to allow us to keep living where we are, and we're heading into the coldest part of the year, so it's not really an option for us to try and find a better place because they're all taken. Probably everyone's hunkering down. So now's not the time to be, be left without a roof. So I think Phil's going to propose that we go back to the docks. I know we had such a great time there last time, but we can try to find some heavy beams there and maybe salvage part of the piers or something like that. If we all do it together, we can brace this house and keep the roof up. And that's Phil's plan.
Yeah, that's a cool plan. I love it. Let's go. I'm ready.
Well,
So Phil sort of puts her arm on top of Raja's shoulder, sort of yes, one down, and then kind of looks at Tib very pointedly.
you want to go at night?
Yeah, so I think as shown by the fact that you've had a near impact now, it's pretty routine for there to be bombings around the city during the day. Night is usually a safer time to move. And there's I should say there's a mechanical thing. So there's a move under conflict moves called Brave the Active War Zone, and I think if you went this close to a bomb being dropped, we'd be triggering that move somehow. But if you spent some time, maybe.
So wait, the option is to take our time and plan it out? before we go?
The option is to go during the day or during the night, I guess. And the day is more dangerous, but the night, you know, you guys have got to eat and stuff beforehand. So, or, you know, you'll burn some resources waiting, basically.
Yeah, I totally want to go now. You know, it's night. We're like spies. They won't see us walking around.
Oh, sorry. I had it as daytime at the moment.
Oh, then yeah.
Am I wrong here? Like, is everyone else the other way? So we can flip that.
No, I think it is morning.
I was imagining like.
So that means
Yeah,
those
morning.
guys were walking around during the day.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Them
want to do
animals
that.
from the zoo.
Yeah, I thought it was. I've been sleeping, and like maybe I was in the corner, and it was like I wasn't sure if it was day or night. Oh, we totally should go at night. It's way cooler at night.
Yeah, all right. Let's set out just before dark. And go get.
Yeah, I'm gonna draw our plan, like where we're gonna go. Okay. So I go grab some papers while you guys are doing the actual planning and like dreaming up this shit.
Now, that's absolutely perfect. So while we're waiting for night to come, it's as V said, it's coming into the coldest part of the year, and it's a little bit chillier. And I think as you go to check the fuel in your heater or whatever you're burning for warmth, you see it's a little bit lower. So if you check that character sheet section, you guys have only got 3 scrap at the moment, 3 of a possible 7. But what we're going to do is there's a move called when everyone rests and recovers, which is kind of like we're waiting for something. So time's going to jump forward. You can read a montage of how you spend the time. And then if you enjoy little luxuries, you will consume 2 of those scrap and you will reduce your weariness. If you just scrape by, you will consume 1 of those scrap. And if you go without, you will take none of them, but you will mark your lowest condition.
How do you get more scrap?
There are moves for it, like Scrounge Around, which is, you know, if you go looking for something specific, if it's scrap, it's plentiful. And you can also get it, you know, fictionally by, I guess the question would be, where do you think, knowing the 3 things that scrap represents, which is that fuel, antibiotics, and food, where do you think you would find it in this environment? And then,
Mark your lowest condition, is that like weariness or damage or either, or
so yeah, it's weariness accelerates into damage, I think. I haven't really figured out the harm stuff that well.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this case, we wouldn't want to spend none because I would essentially be taken out.
Yeah.
You would
either out or really close to out.
Yeah. So that's the thing is, who wants to, and it's an individual choice, by the way. Sorry.
Okay.
So
Cool.
there's 4 of you and there's 3 scrap.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Boy, you guys just, that's exactly the emotional hit I wanted, which is great.
I'll go with that. Oh, okay, to mark a thingy.
What does it look like, you going without while other people?
I think it's just like, so as sort of we meander back to upstairs, I think Phil sort of sees where Theo's breakfast that was being put together for everyone, sort of picks up a couple of the bowls that were sort of tipped over, puts them back in, and then sort of hands the bowls to everyone. But she sort of like picks her one off the floor and as sort of added to everyone else's food for the day, I guess. Has been so it's like split between 3.
That's super cute.
Does that mean we untick all 3 scrap?
Yep.
Well, it's all right. We're going to go find scrap tonight.
That's why you're going on a mission.
So we're consuming all the scrap, and then we
Yep.
mark down one of our conditions.
No, so
Just
only
me.
only Phil will have to mark the condition.
Mhm.
You guys, she has so generously given you something.
Does anyone react to that? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Tip doesn't
Theo
even know.
totally kind of looks in the bowl, looks up like, this is not how I portioned it out. And there's that kind of awkward moment of, is he going to say something or not? And he
I
just
just-
walks away back to his like little scrap nest and kind of disappears into it.
Feels pretty stubborn. Like, if you were to try and sort of like say something or you know, motion to the bowl or something like that, just pushes it towards you, like sort of.
Yeah, I give you a look like, you're like, I've done this before. You've done this before. We all take turns. I give you the look like, I'm next. I'll do it. No, I'll take my turn next time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it Phil sort of sniffs a little bit as you take the bowl, and we're like, gotta get a big fucking brace for this house tonight.
So we said Tib didn't notice, but I think I'm interested in seeing the others, in seeing a move with the other ones, because this seems like I was like, oh yeah, you know, food, whatever, but it's turned into a bit of an intimate moment. Do you think this is going to fulfill the share what little you have?
I was thinking it totally felt like that, but that stacking moves might be cheaty. So I
Nah,
didn't.
stacking moves is not cheating. These moves are not gentle. But share what little you have is a move that I think I want to see people hit a lot. So, do you think this is an intimate thing for Phil, or do you think it's Oh, you're muted.
Yes,
Sorry.
yeah. I think so. I think that
Okay.
will be a fun thing to roll.
All right, great. Well, those
still
who
need
are
to learn about it.
involved. So, Haley, you said for that, like, Tib didn't notice, and that would probably remove you from the role. But if you wanted to engage in it, please do. Like, please rewind that and engage.
No, I think that says something about Tib.
I think so too.
Roll plus bonds, then set your bonds to 0.
Yeah.
So even if
so
you have 0 bonds, you can roll this.
You can roll plus 0. Yeah.
Okay.
If you have minus bonds, you can roll minus and set it to 0.
Yeah, plus 1 at the moment. So I roll. Oh, okay, I'll roll. Let's see how that goes.
And Ryan and Ari, are you guys rolling in this as well?
Yeah, I want to roll as well.
Beautiful. Please do.
Oh, you can label these. Sorry, I will do so.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is like my favorite move of the thing, and I'm super excited to see how it comes out.
Oops. Okay, I rolled a 4 plus my bonds is 1, so it's a 5.
That's a
I
good
also
one.
got a 5.
That's a good one.
Still trying to roll it.
Ah!
There it is. I got a 4 plus 1, 5.
Cool. So you're all at 5s, which means you experience a tender, fulfilling moment. You all reduce your weariness by 1. So untick your highest weariness section and add 1 to your bonds. If you wish, you may ask a question from the higher list, or you can just enjoy each other's company in the silence. I think that the question is, yeah, does anyone push it? Does anyone have a question that they're interested in?
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to ask a question for sure, because there's this whole list of questions we have to ask
I
them.
know. It's fun. Let's use it.
Yeah. So, Phil, because I feel like you're the one acting in here, how do you show me the part of you the war is left unchanged?
I think definitely that impulse to sort of be the caretaker of the group was something that I've always had, because you know, when you're out in the wilderness and you're camping, watching out for one another is like the cardinal rule. And I think that sort of impulse has been totally left unchanged for now. and it's not something that's easy to hold on to when you're in a difficult situation, like when you're trying to survive in this war. But it's definitely something that means a lot to Phil, and so Phil is trying to preserve it. That's sort of what's unchanged for now. But it's like a fragile sort of unchanged.
That's so precious.
Enjoy it now before the rest of the game happens.
Mhm. Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
How do you show me what I can do to make you happy?
I think so as I'm giving the bowl to Raj, and Raj is sort of giving me the eyes, like, okay, next time it's my turn to do this. Phil says to Raj, call it even if you draw me a pretty picture. And it's definitely like, and then I like Phil smiles really gently at you, like you can tell that Phil really just like it's yeah, it's a nice moment. We're sort of acknowledging the things we're good at that's beyond the war. And sharing this
Okay.
with each
So
other.
sweet.
Are we still eating, or did we finish eating? This was like right after
So
or during?
this is all kind of montagey because this is in that rest and recover part of.
Got you. When we finish this part, I wanna just do like a very tiny, like, show you what I'm doing thing.
Yes.
What's that? Sorry, you cut out.
Sorry, I just said please.
Oh yeah. So like I rush off and then I come back with like drawing. I lay it out on the table in front of her. And is it her or him, your character? Sorry. Her. Yeah, I apologize. And I say, check it out. This is the plan. And then you can see like pictures of like the buildings and like our attack plan for like going there. And then coming back out is us riding on different animals. So like you're on a giraffe and I'm on a tiger, and the other two are like, like a bear or something. So,
Raj is so important to this game.
Yes.
If I can inject my what I'm doing thing, I think Theo just kind of eats his food quietly, kind of off in his little nest thing, and just as this is all going down, is in the background like tidying up, cleaning up, what would have been the table and putting that stuff away and everything, just totally not engaging with this really cute scene.
Yeah.
Speaking of not engaging,
take care of people, it's so considerate.
I want to ask: is Tiv eating in another room by themselves, or are they in this room and just not a part of the like socialization?
They're in the room and they're not a part of a socialization. They're concerned. They're thinking already about the nighttime and like the layout of the docks and like hours, and no one is talking about it.
Well, no, we have a plan. There's a map.
Yeah, and I probably bring it to you with like the most respect, because I feel like you're the anchor. At least my character feels like you're the anchor of the group. If like something happens. What's that?
Were you talking about Phil or Tib?
Tib.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm kind of a little sheepish about it, but I was like, come on, check it out, Tib. This is the plan. What do you think?
Yeah, and like Tib like probably gives it like a long like serious look, and like edits out the animals and like anything that doesn't make sense, and is like, yeah. We've got to like, if we move it slightly that way, I think there was some scrap like over there if no one's got it yet, like, and like makes it like picks up one of your drawing implements and makes an amendment. How does Raj react to that?
Oh shit. Up until now, has Raj been the only one that ever does the drawing stuff? Or is this a common thing for you to like, probably made plans before like this? This is not the first time you did it. Is it always like you dictating to Raj and him drawing on it, or is it pretty regular that you just like, here, changed it?
I'll leave that to you. What do you think? How protective are you?
I think Raj is really protective about his drawings, and he's kind of rebellious. So you can see him kind of get upset. What are you doing? I always do the drawings. You know, you're the boss, but I do the sketches, and I try to like take the pencil back from you.
Yeah, I think Tib like just chucks the pencil down and is like, ease up, I'm just fixing it. I thought we were working together.
Yeah, we're together. The plan for everybody. I've gotta go draw it again. And I like, you know, is this triggering a move? If it's a triggering move, we can make a move.
I don't think it is. I mean, there's go toe to toe, but I think that's for a little bit more direct conflict stuff. Yeah. I don't think this is no.
It's just
I think like Tib kind of looks around for support, like, you know, like how unreasonable is this? Like I was just fixing it.
Yeah, it feels like it's a good idea, Tib. But don't like. It's like you scribbled over the animals or something, right? I'm like, but
yeah, so straight like, over, line straight over there. Yeah,
it's a good idea, Tib, but you didn't have to ruin the sketch. The subs, you know, like I just point to the blank spaces that you could have written in. Just be considerate, mate. I think that's when like the good mood sort of drops, and it's like we're just waiting out for the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to actually, I think we will cut to you guys coming up on the docks. But I think that's going to happen after a quick break. Let's say another. We'll say 45, quarter to. That's 6 minutes. Cool. Yeah, that felt super good in a lot of different ways. You guys go have fun. I'll see you in 6 minutes. All right, now let's. I'm feeling a lot better. This is picked up a lot and is hitting the zones that I want it to. Ryan pointed out stacking moves. That's absolutely something I wanted this to do. Like I wanted rest and recover to turn into share what little you have. I think rest and recover should be like rest or wait for it or whatever. What else? What else have I done here? Man, it's really interesting. We've said no to a couple of moves. We said yes to a couple of moves. We did forget the war really early. That turned out to be a lot lower than I thought it was going to be, like a lot lower threshold than I thought it was going to be. And I'm kind of into that. Like, reduce your weariness, add 1 to your bonds. Is like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with forgetting the war being really low because the lower results cost so much on that move that if people want to engage with it, like absolutely. What else? We haven't had a miss yet, which is great because I don't want misses. I don't like misses. This game doesn't need misses. It needs middle results. How am I going with my principles and moves? I think I'm doing okay. Yeah, I think I am. I think I'm doing okay with that. We're going to try scrounging. We're going to try to generate some valuable stuff. That shouldn't be the snipers. That'll be someone. Someone has eyes on the stash. You'll have to brave them to get home. This definitely belongs to someone. Definitely need to get. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really enjoying the play side of this. So I thought that the setting generation is definitely helpful. I'm super glad we did it. Like a lot of this zoo stuff and a lot of that is all coming out of setting generation. So that's really, really, really good. But it's a lot. It was a lot. For someone who's obsessed with post-gen as I am, it's probably a little bit too much. I think I can cut it in half and I'll be happy, which is make the map while you're doing the questions or do the map, not the questions. I think the questions are really good. I think they're valuable, but I'm not sure if they're effective. I don't know. Players definitely want to achieve and do things. That's great. No more than one dead end roll. I think that's really good. I don't think we've had any dead end rolls at the moment. It's good. I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing okay. I ended up cutting out the bit about pick one that's been lost, stolen, or dropped because I felt like I had enough setting. I felt like there was enough going on. So I might look at that a bit more. It's generating so much character though. Like everyone feels like they've got really, really, really good handles on their character this early on, which is crazy to me. And I'm not sure what is doing that. Ryan, how are you?
Okay.
That's good. I do.
It's like to keep playing this.
Sorry.
Sort of psyched to keep playing this and see how it's going to work.
I'm super psyched that when you were like, no, I love intimacy being broader than just sex, and I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. Like I think that you and I share a really similar desire there.
Yeah. I know like one thing that always throws me off about Apocalypse World and Monster Hearts and stuff is that there's sex moves, and I'm like, okay, but what if it's just that really intimate moment that gets its own scene in the TV show where you can see the characters get each other for the first time?
Yep.
Because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, when someone decides to pour out their food into your bowl and like makes eye contact with you and is like, I know that you know. Yeah.
Or just there were 4 bowls, now there's 3. What are you gonna do about it?
Oh man. And it was really interesting too. It felt like it was rewarding to you as players. Okay. I want to talk about that later because we have a very short amount of time left in which to watch you do some other cool shit. So Mechanisation. We enter the storage area of the port. I guess we come across the port. I would like to ask Raj, what is it that Raj sees that tells you that this port is still active and in use? And then while you're thinking about that, I want from Phil, I would like, what do you see in this port that tells you that it's like that reminds you that it's wartime? So Raj, do you want to start us off? What do you see in this port that shows us it's still in use?
The derricks. There's a derrick that is being maintained, and there may be some defensive structures around it to keep people away from it. So there's maybe ships coming, at least a ship coming and going, and maybe it's really well protected because it's hard to get stuff in and out of here.
Yeah, and I think something that reminds you is on the water you can see like ghostly little bubble lights, these like blinking red lights off the coast that are from presumably Navy ships. You can see sort of like in the glow like a rough outline as we're coming in, fading into that night. So we're losing sight of it, but that blinking red light.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Who was it that was in here stealing things from here before? During the character gen, someone was like, "No, I've taken stuff from there before." I'm trying to remember who it was.
I'd like to think we I don't remember who said that specifically. I know we scavenged there last time. That was when we got shot on. But I assumed we used to go there on the regular because it's not too far from where we to pick up bits and bobs when we recruit.
And I imagine Tib, being the reckless sort, has probably been here a couple of times. Tib, where is the easiest place to find the best stuff here?
So you want to go in through like the old fishing, like the place where when they used to use this area more for fishing, they used to cut up the fish and fish markets. That's what I'm looking for. The old fish markets, which still stinks like fish, but there's nothing there now. And if you enter that way, it's out of sight from the military building, as long as you don't mind the old, I guess the walls and the floors still smell like fish, and it's a bit damp, so the fish stench like sticks to your body almost instantly when you enter it.
Oh, that's beautiful.18absolutely beautiful. And so we see the four of you in this fishmonger area. What how do you prepare yourselves when you're going out on a scrounging raid like this?
Yeah. I reckon we dress warmly. And for this particular one, we've got like some, like, do we have like hatchets or some sort of tools type things?
Ooh, interesting.
Ryan, I'm always in favor of carrying a hatchet because that is a really useful thing nobody ever thinks about in these games.
Yeah, right. So we've got you've probably got like maybe one, maybe two between you. Who carries the hatchets? Yeah, who is hatchet carrier?
I'll carry it if no one else wants to.
All right, you're in trouble then. So we come across this as we enter out into the port. Let's find out how useful it is. Now you're all together, which means that you're all welcome to roll the Scrounge Around move together if you'd like. And because we're figuring out what exists here, we're going to roll plus luck.
We don't do plus bonds on this, right?
No, this is plus luck.
I got a 7.
And if anyone
I got a 6.
If anyone wants to interfere with this move, I can teach you how to do that too.
I finally found the reroll button.
Yay.
Hey, I got a 5 despite my awful luck.
That's good.
Sync, right? Or is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Which is going to be awesome.
I got a 3 total.
Cool. So we'll take Ari's off, and so the highest two are V and Ryan. But this isn't something. Oh yeah. So cool. Highest two results. When you scrounge around on a hit, if you're looking for something specific, you find it or are pointed toward it. If you're looking for scrap, it's plentiful. So I think that there's plenty of stuff around. There's plenty of food around here in kept in like shipping containers that have come off the boats, and probably like a fair bit of fuel in like small canisters around as well. But most importantly, for you, Phil, something catches your eye, and it's this bracing support on the derrick. Looks exactly like the kind of brace you'd need to keep the side of your safe house from falling down. Yes. So on a sync, it's a bounty, all right. I will tell you what else you'll find. So either you get something interesting in which you can each ask one from the read the lay of the land list, or you get something valuable, which is some extra scrap or something specific. And this is a pacing question for me. I think I'm going to give you something valuable. So I think there's going to be like a bucket of scrap. Like I think that this is an absolute cornucopia of stuff. And if you can get it home, you absolutely have like the you'll have the 7 scrap that you need. In fact, there's so much that you would probably all be able to add one to your stash as well.
Whoa. I think it's starting to click why people have been interested in this area and with the activities coming up. Someone else has found all of these. This place is actually full of good stuff. That blinking red light's getting closer and closer. I think we're not going to be able to enjoy this forever. So I've motioned to the crew at the particular beam that I think is the best one. Tib, do you think you can get a handle on one of the ends? How heavy do you think it is?
Yeah, I can grab it. Give me the hatchet.
You don't even know how to use it properly.
You do it then.
All right, so I think Phil's gonna try to so we sort of like look around. It's kind of silent, and then there's like a shlook through the air as I drive the hatchet into like pry the thing loose, cut it away.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's probably this like god awful creak of the metal against metal, and like it strains as it has to shift to find a new balance point. And you see like the derrick tilt a little bit, just like a millimeter or two. But for you, it would probably look like it was about to fall over, right? Like that fear. And it groans against itself, and then it settles again and is silent. And in that instant of like you think you hear some other sounds, but it's probably covered by that metal on metal sound.
Theo, Raj, grab one in each.
Okay. I hold it up. So we're working together to take this thing out.
Tib is looking at the bucket of scrap like, geez, look at all this scrap. This is definitely someone else's shit. Let's get out of here.
Okay.
And probably as Tib finishes saying like this is someone else's, you hear someone mutter with agreement as they step from the shadows, and behind you, cutting off your way out, or cutting off the way you came, 4 people wearing orange and black hats, wielding like things that they've found around here as some sort of weapons. So they've got, one's got a brick, one's got that's Lug that's got the brick, one's got like a piece of wood, that sort of stuff. And they laugh, and one of them says, one of them who you'd recognize as Marco says, "Told you were going to get hungry, Theo."
I think at this point, Theo sort of lets go and squares up, and that's not impressive at all. Theo is built like a scarecrow and dressed like one. His clothes are too big, like, boxy field jacket and stuff, like he's trying to fill out, and it's not working. But he's trying to be tough.
What are you doing? Get out of here.
Get out of our way.
They're not just going to let us leave, Raj.
Yeah, and like he probably like puts up a finger to silence you, Tib, and says, now, I'm talking to Theo. Let's be polite. And it's super patronizing, and it comes from this real position of strength because he's got his team with him, and he's feeling armed, and he says, Theo, I'm more than happy for you to walk out with everything you've got there. Well, maybe not everything. He's like, just if you let us just work Tib over a little bit, we'll even let you carry him home. Or them home, sorry. We'll even let you carry them home.
I think Tib looks over at Theo like, yeah, okay, you should do that. I'll be all right.
Oh, boy.
Doesn't say anything, just eye contact.
Oh, boy.
And Theo was totally prepared to go like, no, you can't have Tib. But thinks Tib is now trying to go for the self-sacrifice, which is usually Theo's move, and doesn't want to take that away from him. So he's like, okay, you can have Tib, but we're taking him home after. We're taking them home after.
So everyone else is cool with this, right? Like,
no,
Bill,
Theo is not remotely cool with this, but thinks this is what he needs to do for Tib.
Yeah, I was shaking my head no the whole time, and then Tib spoke up and looking it over with astonishment.
All right. So I'm interested in things from like player and character split here. Haley, are you really committed to like one way or the other as a player? Do you really want this to go one way as a player?
As a player, I'm not committed.
Okay, cool. Then in that case, Raj, do you want to do something about it, or are you happy to let this happen? And Phil, which side are you going to be on?
Phil thinks it's a dumb idea. I think Phil thinks that everyone like. I think what Phil would try to do is sort of be like this is bullying behavior in the sense it's like totally senseless as well to Phil. Like, we're all in this shit situation. Why make things worse for ourselves when we don't even have like there's nothing at all to be gained from like fighting it out or like taking it out on a kid. So I think that's like what Phil would do, call out the bullshit. And like Phil's holding the hatchet and has no intention of giving it to Tim to like defend themselves with. So
all right.
Raj is going to say something too, if you don't mind the background noise.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just want to figure out first quickly, is this, are Phil and Raj going to stand against this? Are you guys going to tell them how it's going to be?
I think so. And like as a player, I'm also not committed. Like I'm cool with it going down either way. I think it'll be very interesting either way.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, who are you telling? That's a great question. I think...
Let's take one each.
Yes,
so,
tell Theo how it's going to be.
Yeah, Raj. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just so interested in what the answer to that question is.
Yeah, I'm like...
Or tell Tib, or tell everyone.
Yeah, Raj, is this something you've got to take up with the West Zoo gang, or is this something you've got to take up with Tib?
Yeah, I'm against the idea of Tib sacrificing themselves because I think this is going to go down badly. So I tell the West Side Gang, is that what they're called?
West Zoo gang.
West Zoo Gang. I tell the West Zoo Gang, hey guys, you think you're tough, right? Wouldn't it be cool if I drew pictures of you with like your fighting animals and your armor and like who's this leader guy? What's his name?
His name is Marco.
Yeah, Marco. I'll give you a helmet with big horns and a big battle axe, and you can hang it up, and everybody's going to be scared of you. And I just wait for him to answer that.
All right, and I guess Phil, are you on the side of trying to tell them how it's going to be, or are you trying to tell Tib that they shouldn't be doing this?
Oh, sorry. That was Raj or for me?
It was for you. Sorry, Phil.
For me.
Yeah,
sorry.
I thought it was right.
Because
Because Raj is going to step up to Marco and be like, "I'll draw pictures of you if you."
Yeah.
You're nice. Nice. Super cute.
All right. So I'll take Tib. So I sort of like sidle up to Tib and like I don't, like I lower my voice so the other guys can't hear me. And I like give Tib like a really frown and say, what do you think you're doing?
They're not gonna let us just go. And if they do, they're gonna come for us some other time. It's better just get it over and done with.
You think they just want to beat you up and that's it? Why? Who does that help?
Why do you even ask that? It doesn't matter. This is the situation we're in.
We sort of, I think I sort of sigh at that. Like, it does feel like it's not our control how these like people are behaving, and even if they're like, irrational, like what are we going to do about it? Like, sort of see your point. I'm gonna roll the die.
Yeah. So if you guys want to both, I think that's fucking sweet. Like that breaks my heart. But if you guys want to, Raj and Phil want to roll go toe to toe. So when you go toe to toe to tell them how it's going to be, roll plus guts,
Mm-hmm.
and then the highest result kind of sets what's going to happen, and the lower result sets what the consequences will be for that if it doesn't go that way.
Sorry, go Haley.
No, you go first.
I think based on just like sort of how your character responded to that, I actually want to roll like a feel you out rather than
Stacking
because I
yeah.
don't think that I'm not trying to change your mind at the moment. I think I just want us to like I do want to feel you out. I want to know what Tib's really like.
Great. Are you so Haley? Is Tib opening up here? Is this a moment of vulnerability for Tib, or are you closing off and stopping that read from happening?
Opening up.
Opening up. Cool. So if you guys want to roll, fill them out together. Roll plus guts.
I'm rolling this, correct?
So Raj, we're going to actually come back to part of the stacking moves thing is we're going to come back to.
Okay, gotcha.
I roll a 3 plus guts, so nothing.
I got 5.
3.
A 5, cool, and a 3 for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you're the higher result there, Haley. Do you want to ask your question of the list below?
How can like, how can I get them to give me I guess, yeah, I think it's just how can I get them to give me the chance to do this? Because Tib doesn't see any other way out.
Cool.
I think it's if you just look like you're no, you always speak so tough, right? Like Tib's trying to always like prove a point or be like really sharp with their words, and I think it's just like, all right, get beat up. End this the way you end things, but don't escalate it because I want you alive. Is sort of that's why I'm not giving you the hatchet. I don't want you to escalate this violence. And my question, and I think like you sort of get that from like, I think we know each other well enough that you get that from me, just from how I'm having this discussion with you. I'm gonna ask you, what is Tib most worried about? Like, how I want to know how rational Tib is as a person. What are they most worried might happen?
Tib is most worried that we'll get out of the situation somehow, and then we'll be sleeping in our beds one day, and these guys will come in through the windows, and they'll just like kill us and take everything we have.
Okay. So yeah, I think okay. So Phil just says, "All right, dead meat, give him L to Tib," and then like picks up the bucket of canned tuna with the other hand and slings the hatchet behind her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tib is like looks really thankful. A very unusual expression for them. Relieved is the word I would.
Yeah. Wow. Ari, let's resolve yours. Now you're rolling alone, which means let me know what you get. Roll your guts.
Okay.
But, it's unlikely you're going to get a good result here because you're on your own. You're standing 1v4.
Yeah.
Hey, never say never, right?
You got it.
You got to lean into those maybes.
Never say never. I got a 1.
Great. So you are the person that gets to set the terms of if it doesn't go that way. So if you do leave with Tib, what's going to happen? A few drinks or some smokes to smooth it over. So 1 stash will be enough to keep the peace. It's a matter of trust. You'll be out. Or if you don't like that answer, you can just get violent now. But that is a trap. I do not know how to make that clear. That is a trap.
Get violent now with this gang?
Yeah.
Or give up scrap?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or I get kicked out of this group?
No, you don't get kicked out. You just will mark your out condition, which will mean that you can't roll with people until you resolve that.
Until the situation is resolved?
Yeah.
Let's do that one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
they know I'm this naive dreamer kind of guy that like, shut up for a little while.
So he looks at you, probably looks over your shoulders, and says, "Nobody's behind you on this one." He says, he probably even puts a hand on your shoulder, like condescendingly, and says, "You're welcome to leave with Tib right now, but I promise you that you will not be a popular person."
Yeah.
And he even takes a step away, and like steps back, and like leaves you the open pathway out of the docks. He's seen over your shoulders that conversation's occurred.
Yeah, I think I kind of like just fold up and withdraw. Like, nobody's got my back here. I did this by myself. So, yeah, I'm withdrawing from this position.
And Theo is going to put a hand on Raj's shoulder in a way that's supposed to be reassuring, but might be not at all interpreted that way.
You put it in
It's bad time for Raj.
Yeah, you put it in just the same spot that Marco did, so you just look condescending as well. Oh, that's so good. So is that the decision? Tib staying behind? Right. You guys can leave with your stuff, and I think, Tib, I've got a question for you, which is, what does it look like as everybody else leaves and these like 4 people start to walk toward you?
Tib is praying. Tib has their eyes closed and is praying.
It's beautiful. I think I want to fade out on that and leave that there. There are so many lovely moves to use there, but
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, please.
Like, while you're like when you're praying, like the scene is like you're praying, and then there's like the light blinking back and forth across the horizon at you.
We can hear Tib's slow heartbeat in metronome with the light.
Yeah. Oh, you go and get fucked up, boy.
You go and get fucked up. I have a move called When the War Fucks You Up, and I was ready to pull it, but but alas, no more. Wow. Okay. Do people want to take 2 minutes to de-roll and freshen up and whatever, and then come back to this and do some debrief?
Yeah.
And Ryan, what time is it
good.
at home?
Right now in Sydney?
No, sorry, Ryan. What time is it at home?
Oh, it's 10:13.
You're okay to stay for a little bit longer to debrief?
I mean, my standard, if I just leave now, it's not like I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Because
Cool.
Cool. So yeah, I'm good to debrief.
All right, I'll catch you guys in like 2 minutes. Ah, man. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, people. I don't have words to express how wonderful you are. That was so awful but pretty, which is how I think about each and every one of you. Haley and V, you guys have done this more than me. How should I start this? What do I do?
I think you had a pretty clear set of stuff criteria that you were assessing as well from your point of view.
Yeah,
So it'd be
all right.
interesting to think what your thoughts are in regards to that.
Okay. So I think
we could also just talk about the game generally.
Yeah, let's go for the specifics first, and then we'll broaden out, because otherwise things tend to get lost in like people rambling on ideas and stuff, which is great. I do want to hear all of your these goals thing. So my playtest goals were 1, move resolution structure that works and is grokkable, 2, players that want to achieve and do things, and 3, no more than 1 dead end roll. So I don't think that at any point we had any dead end rolls. That felt really good. I don't think there was ever a roll where I didn't learn something about characters or I didn't have an idea of where things were going next. Does anyone have any feelings on that?
All the rolls felt really important and impactful to me. So yeah, I didn't feel like there were any dead ends.
Yeah. I think the general structure of the rolls, that the rolling in a group, worked pretty well. And was in tone and theme, which was really good. That's really fun. Unique way of setting up the mechanics. I thought that worked well.
I really liked it at 2 times. One, when Haley was like, "No, I'm not part of this role. Like, I'm not. Tim is not a part of this," and it was beautiful. And the second time I really liked it was when Ari realized he was rolling alone, and it was so hard for him to generate the effect he wanted because he didn't have support, and that felt super thematic at the same time.
Yeah, I think that decision to be part of it or not a part of it, as well as it takes a little bit longer to resolve because you've got sort of the higher result has to resolve and the lower result does. But I think that's all right. You get so much, you're rolling up big things in this kind of system anyway, that I think it worked really well.
Yeah, you get double content out of one roll,
which is good. Yeah, it's clever. It's very good. Haley had thoughts about the reading moves. I think we chatted briefly about that.
Haley?
Yeah, I mean, my thought was like, I love the questions. The good news, bad news split is interesting. In the lay of the land, like I noticed that in Fill Them Out, it's sort of like the player will ask one back, or ask one, you won't like the answer, the player will ask one back. I wonder, like, if that fits as well for Fill Them Out as it does for Read the Lay of the Land. Because often you're asking somebody else. Like, for example, when V and I rolled that and I got the higher result and V got the lower result, we didn't resolve the higher result than the lower result. And it wasn't necessarily the case that I was going to give an answer to the question that V asked that wasn't one that they would
want to hear
like the answer of.
Right.
Yes.
And not all those questions give themselves over to that. So, like, I was wondering, like, because it works so well in Lay of the Land, it makes sense. It's like, oh, things are going well for you on a high result. Or at least you're making progress. On a lower result, things are going badly for you, but on Feel Them Out, that it doesn't quite work to the same degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. I have wanted to collapse those into one move for a while, and I think this is a good excuse to do it. Because I think you're right. So you're saying that, if I understand you correctly, that the way Lay of the Land's broken out into these are questions you can ask that generate momentum for you, and these are questions you can ask that generate momentum for the other person. You would like to see that.
I like that. I don't know if it will ever work for Feel Them Out.
Yeah.
That's because Feel Them Out is a question of going to character integrity and character position rather than generating a like a level that's could be good or bad for you, like not a level, like
Yeah, it does when you ask an NPC, but it's
Yeah.
often used between PCs, and it doesn't quite have that impact between
Yeah.
PCs.
Okay.
Because when you're using it within the PC, you're trying to generate moments between your characters as well.
Yeah, greater understanding between each other.
Yes. Yeah. So and I think that's why I've had them split as separate moves.
Yeah.
Okay. We might have to. I love the idea, and it's certainly.
I mean, not bookmark it, whatever. Put a pin in it.
Yeah, I definitely want a pin in it, because I don't want us to get caught up in one good thing when there's going to be a million.
Quick question. Quick question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, try not to complicate it too much further, but there's a nifty ls for the awful C thing where a move operates differently if you use it on a PC versus an NPC, and I feel like this is one of those moves that could use that.
Look, you're not wrong. I'm trying to be elegant and not have that.
Yeah, it's just but I like that when it's like, okay, we know that a PC, you're not going to take away their agency, but this is how it works. I feel like this is one of those moves where to use it as it is on a PC feels kind of weird, and so you might want some sort of little side thing saying NPC is this moves a little differently. Yeah.
Sync is when you have the same result on the roll. Is that right?
It was originally going to be that, but now it's just that you both are 5+.
Okay.
Because was it going to be impossible to actually do well on the old method where you had to have the same result. And it was like your stat, you could add or subtract it to your roll to like try and get the same. It was a fucking mess. This is better, but still has that word I don't like in sync, but I don't like hit. I don't like full success. And
yeah, sync, once I got what you were going for, seemed to work because like, oh yeah, you're both doing well, you're both in sync, you're working together in this moment. But at first I thought it was that rolling the same number. I was going, oh, this is never going to come up. But it actually did come up. So it's like to see that.
I should call it like act in sync or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. Something better. Let's look at these. So, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Who am I cutting off?
No. All good.
Okay. Otherwise, the move resolution structure, you guys sort of understood the differences between rolling together, rolling apart, that whoever gets the higher result is probably going to get good things.
Yeah, that all felt very natural once it started up. And I loved how it makes basically every roll into an intimacy move because you're rolling with or against the party every time. And it was so good.
Yeah, I like that you had sort of adds another dimension to the roll because you're looking, usually when you're rolling, you're looking to like resolve the situation, but because of the higher and lower thing, you also always have that sort of dynamic between you and another player, which is good as well. Yeah, really liked it.
Thank you. And what about achieving things and doing things? When did you feel like you knew what the game wanted you to do? Like, when did you feel like you knew what you were meant to do in the game to move forward?
It's the very first thing in the game. I mean, right up top, you say, what is it? What page is this looking for? Where you say what the game is about. Yeah, the conceit in the game. Everything you need to know is right there, I think. For me as a player, anyway.
Okay.
I felt I knew like what I was supposed to be doing. I'm not sure if it was the game. I mean, what the game wanted me to do, or just what I decided for my character. But I was like, I'm totally going to try to go for all the damages I can get, and just go constantly go for the self-sacrifice. And then I want to go toe-to-toe with someone and get creamed. And yeah, that didn't happen, but it was sort of what I was playing toward because it looked like the game wanted violence to be the absolute worst option you could take, and I kind of wanted to push it there and see how badly it went.
When did you feel like that? When was that a decision that you made?
I think it was partway through the intro questions where I was going that, I mean, again, sort of character astrology, but also that some of mine were just, ask someone why they gave something to me or why they did something for me. And I was like, oh, this game is kind of happening to my character. So sure, I'm going to just, constantly just take everyone's shit. I'm going to, do the, I take the blow instead of you kind of thing. And when that ceiling fell, I was like, okay, I'm solidified into, I will take every damage I can get. And
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that stuff goes really like goes to show that tone is set up really well and really early in the play experience, especially in the character creation, as everyone was saying. That's good. I think there was a little bit of lag in terms of the like, what is it that we're going to do? Like the first scene at the hideout was okay because we were learning about our characters, but definitely felt like a little bit like a warm up, and it wasn't clear for me then. It almost like seems like this game is supposed to run in like a mission type structure, which I think is like the, scrounge around, dangerous activities, then rest recover, which makes sense. But I feel almost like pushing into like a tutorial level, like straight into that action first is good.
Yeah, like you almost need to start the night. Like it's like you're here, you're going to get this. This is the start of the game.
Yeah, like
for me, I felt like I knew what the game wanted me to do when, like Phil was like, "Oh, we need this beam. Where's the beam at the docks? All right, now I know what we're going. Where this game is going."
And for me, I felt like it was sort of this war of mine, but starting with someone showing up first. We were like, okay, here's a complication, and now we know what we need to do tonight, sort of thing. But also, I've got that background. I don't know if everyone here has played that game, so.
No, I loved that first scene where they showed up, but it didn't make it clear what I was or could do in the game, or where the game was going until we needed to go and get something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great scene, a lot of tension. I enjoyed it, but
I agree with what you were saying. Yes.
I'm not sure if it benefits from that slow burn and that's okay, or because I found a lot of really good stuff out of that scene, like a lot of good character stuff, and I thought that was really useful. The moment that kind of I thought I saw it click for you guys was when I said to Haley, I'm like, no, everybody has to spend scrap. Like, it'll take you down to 0. Like, there's 4 of you, there's only 3. And like the look on Haley's face was like the exact emotional loop that I wanted out of this game. It was like, oh, this fucking sucks. And I was like, yay.
Well, the scrap being taken away on that, like that moment is definitely like the moment where you create the need that needs to be filled, therefore the mission or the action that we knew we had. So like, oh, now we need more scrap. So I think that's like maybe like that's the way in, having that earlier on. We could still explore the characters and the sort of like conversations, but the direction is set. But yeah, they're both it's super great. Like sort of just where the action starts.
So one thing I had done is I set it up so that you only have 4 scrap and everyone has 1 condition marked.
Yep. That's right.
Maybe it being worse than that, being like, okay, let's set you up in the middle of something. You've got like nothing, and yeah. And yes, Ryan, absolutely, you have figured out.
Yeah.
Okay. Starting with a need straight out of the gate. And so at the moment, I've kind of done. Oh, you've got a little bit of this, you've got a little bit of that. But I think I just need to be harder with that. Be like, you do not have enough. You need this. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Which actually happened very early on, like because very first scene we were like, our security in our house is being threatened. Let's do something about that.
Yeah, I mean, all of the moves are very much about in a PBTA structure. They're very much about pushing that forward. So the minute you guys did forget the war, it was like, there's going to be an opportunity.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, cool.
Cool. And so yeah, when did you feel like you understood who your character was? What was the moment where you kind of got that first bit? Because for me, it takes a while. Like, I take a little while to get into my character, but all of you seem to have a bit of an understanding really quickly, and I'm not sure what part of it helped with that.
I think it was partway through the questions for me, because I was scanning down the list and going, so this is kind of the general trajectory. And then once I got the answers, I went, okay, I kind of know who Theo is more or less. And I was filling in details in the background, but what people gave me was a lot to work with there. Where, sort of skipping back to an earlier question, the intro didn't feel like play so much as sort of like a gradual descent into character. Because as the questions kept fleshing out, I was like, okay, we're kind of hitting Theo beats, and now I'm Theo, continue the game, sort of thing.
Something really helped me a lot here that you want to keep an eye on, but also I think it's going to be different when you play it in face-to-face versus online. Seeing the other characters' aims, what is it? I would tell you that I am, tough, faithful. Seeing the other characters laid out allowed me to think about where the collisions are going to be with the other characters and where those empty spaces are. Seeing them side by side online made that very easy for me to fall into my character. My suggestion would be, if you do this at a table, is to have those out on little cards or something so that I can see that. I think that would be very helpful.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, I think with character creation like that, like it was a very smooth character creation process. With teenagers, you also have that thing where you're like looking, like Sid, you pointed it out yourself, oh, like in that group situation, oh, they're really contrasted, or these, these characters, you can already see stuff. And that's good. But for me, actually, it takes usually most of the session to sort of like warm up into it. So I actually found my character in the moves, in some of those questions and the moves and the resolutions of those. And I think that means it's good writing that's in tone, because that's when you find like, oh, that's what my character's struggling with, or that sort of thing.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Sid, if before you do the next one also. Or
sure. Yeah.
Question is about, earlier on you had these questions. Go back up again. When you were starting out, we kind of started that, and then we backed off of it.
Which questions was it? Sorry, you cut out.
When we were talking about, like, is it snow covered? Is it whatever?
Yeah.
Were those the same questions that we answered later?
No, they're different. So the idea is, and it was just me copy pasting from Quiet Year, that you start by collectively defining an idea of what you want to talk about. The problem is that there was a lot of dead air when that happened. Like So, Haley, this is something we spoke about, or that you spoke to very specifically, which is why I've been thinking about it, which is getting players to buy in ways other than mechanics. And I think V's entirely right. Like, general conceit is way too broad to begin with the game. Like, let's talk about general stuff, starting with smaller, more immediate demands, like draw a whatever. And what so I just think that, like, do you lose something in player buy-in when you're only ever asking them to buy into one question at a time?
I almost think like it's because we are sort of already buying into, like, we know we're going to be in a war-torn situation. I think it's okay to like specify some broad strokes, like just like the boundaries of the school playground, but not the games we're playing in that playground. Like, oh, you're in a city. It's a cold city, or like even that those decisions of whether it's cold or not, that's fine. But once we knew we were in a city and we can like start sketching stuff out, and I think when we were building the map together, that was really fun, and I felt very like we were building, like it was very in theme and tone, and like much easier to commit to building small parts of it up rather than too much too soon was a bit hard. Yeah.
Totally. A lot of buy-in comes in at CATS, and when we talk about what we do, because we didn't talk very much about what we want to see, but a lot of buy-in comes in at that stage, and then after that, like asking people questions one at a time is absolutely a great way to generate buy-in. I don't think the fact that they're one at a time in any, like, it puts people in the spotlight. It says, you now think of a thing that will be in the game. Like, great.
I'm thinking that I want to either do the list of questions or I want to do the building a map. But it's too much to do both. And I think that the way I would like to do it next time is we do the questions, and then while someone is answering the questions, other people are sketching that out on the map. So while someone's like, oh, so we went into this shelled out grocery store, someone's like, okay, I'm going to put that over here. And when someone's like, oh, we first found stuff in the commercial port, I'm going to draw that.
Yeah, I felt like you could have got more leverage out of those questions, because some of them were really important, and then some of them like were just sort of like, oh, okay, then it's gone. That happened. That was a thing that happened in the past. And the only effect we really saw of them was like you had one, you know, your stat was one.
Yeah.
Or either way, but like, I think revising those to make them more world, like, more questions that are usable. Yeah, they're not necessarily world building, because some of them are usable, but they're not world building. Yeah. But yeah, useful as well as character defining could really help. But that wasn't part of your 3 things, so you don't need to worry about that.
No, it's still good to know. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a lot of the core stuff. I guess. Can we go around the table? And what I would love to hear from people is the moment that they felt best exemplified the game experience for them, and what the game was kind of about, and that they most enjoyed, or maybe just felt right. And then also, no, I think if I hear that moment, like your star moment for the system, I guess would be nice. And yeah. So I don't think we've started with Haley in these rounds. No, I have started with Haley. I haven't started with Ryan. Ryan, go. So
the moment that really this is all I want from this system kind of thing was when Phil's little one-off thing turned into a share what little you have, because I was going, I want all of these questions all the time. Can we just like live in this move forever? And we couldn't, and that was kind of sad. But yeah, that was great, even though it was pretty small.
Yeah, oh boy, can I not talk about enough how perfect that was, and how much that was what I wanted it to be. I think V's next. Sure.
My one was actually when I went to go toe-to-toe with Tib. And then Haley and I just had that short in-character conversation where I think it was like, oh, well, they're going to do what they're going to do. And it's like rational, but it's not ours to change. We sort of was like, oh, yeah. So I changed what move I was going to do, because I was like, that's the best thing that could happen in this situation. As in, like, I felt like that was when I found the tone of the game and the atmosphere of the game, in a way that was very in the moment and pertinent for my character. So that was fine.
Yeah, Haley's like resignation to other people having power over her was like super on tone and kind of sad, and I felt super bad about it. Why don't I just design games that are fun, honestly? Haley, what's yours?
Yeah, I actually think those 2 moments both stood out to me. They both exemplified everything that's awesome about this game. So many good things I can say about that. But I really like the space that we had for the results of a move to show themselves. Like, we actually understand what happened. It's not just like, oh, okay, you walk your weary down. Yes, that's good. Like, we actually see it, we experience it, and then that's what leads into that move snowball, and I really like that.
Thank you. You're more than welcome to say all the nice things you want, by the way. I probably am going to need a few, considering I can't get Ryan's hug after this. Ari, what was your moment? Muted dog.
Sorry. My favorite moment was when I presented the map with the various characters in the game riding the animals, and it was fictionally relevant and mechanically relevant. That was very satisfying. I thought it was just going to be a passing thing, like, oh, this is kind of silly. I'm playing my sort of dreamer, naive, personality, but came a move, and it actually affected the game. That was pretty awesome. That was cool. Well
Your
done.
dreamer was so necessary to that game. Like everything was so dark, and then you were like the heart. You were the life that came back to it.
Remind me a little bit of Life is Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, it's beautiful, hey. Them Holocaust games. Now, for me, yeah, no, it was when Ryan was like, "But we're stacking moves, isn't that cheating?" And I was like, "No, this is it. Like, this move should be triggered all over the place by a bunch of different things." And it was so beautiful and perfect, intimate. And then to have Haley just like reject it, like her character to reject it was, and be in the room, but not be a part of all these secret conversations that are happening. That is, I said before, like we're not emulating fiction, but that is the type of fiction that I really wanted to see. Like that sort of, that scene was perfect to me.
It was interesting because, sorry to interrupt.
No, please. You're never interrupting me.
It was interesting because mechanically I was incentivized to participate, but staying true to my character required me not to participate, and that's actually, I feel, a thing that like quite a few of these moves have.
Yep.
That those two things can pull you in opposite directions, and that's unusual for a PBTA game, but it's very interesting.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think that is a negative design choice?
Do you mean negative in the sense of bad, or do you mean negative in the sense of leaving space?
No, I mean negative in the sense of bad.
Oh, no, I don't think it's a negative design choice. I think it's
interesting. It's like PMI chart, positive, negative, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it gives my character's motivations mechanical weight by omission, and my character's actions mechanical weight by omission. And I don't think it's a negative design choice at all. I actually really don't. I think it is one to think about, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I, maybe you want that. Maybe you don't, maybe you want to punish characters for pulling apart and pulling away. Or maybe you want to give them other options. It's really up to you as a designer.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. I love the idea about other options. I will definitely have to think about it.
A move you can only do when you're emotionally isolated.
Like, I think that's what it needs. Yeah.
Become the War is kind of one of those, but
yeah, true.
Sort of piggybacking off Haley's, it felt like to every move there was the option to kind of passive aggressively interfere by refusing to participate.
Mm-hmm.
And then to make it an intimacy move by choosing to participate, where like everyone was, so are you part of this team or not? And I was constantly going, no, in this instance, I'm not. So
yeah.
When I try the type of stats I actually want to use, which is Liberté stats, Ryan, you've played it in my Dogs PBTA version. Ari, I think you played that as well, where you like take demonic influence when things affect you, and then you spend it to roll. That's kind of what I want to do, but all of your moves are based on bonds, basically. Like you get emotionally invested and you spend it and you roll. But it's, yeah.
That would work better.
Yeah.
With that dichotomy.
Yeah,
because
and then that way
there's that you spend when you roll rather than your +2 that comes from your stats that you're not spending but is everlasting. Then you have a benefit in not participating in the move in that you're not spending currency. So that's actually going to I think that'll go a long way to balancing it out. Yeah.
I just didn't want to have too many new moving parts, I guess, in this first playtest.
Yeah.
My main thing would be that I'd rename bonds probably, because every time I see that, I'm like, so I'm spending a bond with a person and it just has a very clear meaning to me in PBTA games. I was going, oh, but it's actually my
intimacy
cohesion or ability to care about people or something, and not my I care this much about this one person in this way. And getting around that kind of mental hump was weird. But
Yeah,
once I saw what you were supposed to be doing with it, it was pretty cool.
Cool. All right, and that's intimacy is pretty much what it is, which is like, yeah, you will spend intimacy to roll with people. You will, yeah, and then in that case, probably the lower result will be the good result, and the higher result will be the complicated one because you are too emotionally invested in the role. So like you want to spend a little bit, but not too much, and it's going to be a thing.
I really like that variation, especially in the you can care too much about the team and have it hurt you.
Well, because the idea is if you both care a lot, it's okay. But if one of you cares a lot and the other one doesn't, the person who cares a lot is the one that's getting fucked, basically.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah. You can tell that all my relationships are totally functional.
I love like all the parts of this that are pointing toward really broken group dynamics. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, V, what was that?
I was just like, if you were going to do spending out over like the bonds or intimacy, I think that's also good because it ties into the fact that things are always going to be taken away. The like resource management element of it, like scrap. So that's the pacing of that would be good too. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I was worried about is that I would have then 3 fluid economies. I would have a scrap economy, a stash economy, and stash is a lot less fluid, but scrap, stash, and then intimacy or whatever it's called, heart.
Yeah, stash is very linked to scrap as well, though. Like they come off the same economy.
Yeah, they felt like the same thing to me. It was just fluid scrap versus hoarded scrap.
Yep, exactly, and that's what it's meant to be. And so you're meant to basically the choice that we never got to is there's a move called Squirrel Away where the group has 7 stash and they're feeling really, really good about themselves, and someone says, "Great, I'm going to take 4 of that, and that's now mine." Like that's for me.
And jumping way ahead, I was looking at the escape the war moves, and I like how so many of them are. So, are you going to give up on this idea, or are you going to ruin everyone else's lives to escape? And yeah, there was a sort of a sudden vicious parting moment.
I've got a question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Once you're done with this part, I've got a question for you.
Unless anyone's got any other input on stats, like stats was always going to go away, but I couldn't bring you a whole new game, and then because if it didn't work, I'd be like, I don't know what's broken. So yeah, go ahead, Ari.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what is preventing players from piling on to always help to fill up the die pool? Because we've got very trustworthy players here right now, playing very honestly. But what is keeping people mechanically from just piling on? And then I have a follow up to that.
So the short answer is that not much, and it's not meant to be. It's not meant to. The decision to not get involved in a role is meant to be an important one, but also there are some moves that just being involved in them will start costing you things. Like tending to someone's damage, you have to spend scrap just to do it. That's actually a really good example of of a move that is probably what they should look like. In that, there's also moves that like. It's like saying what's to stop everyone from just rolling to help in PBTA. And the answer is if you get yourself fictionally involved in the move, you tend to get fictionally involved in the consequences.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's actually written in here very well, but that's definitely the move I got, where I was like, if I help, I'm also throwing in with it instead of just standing aside while this move happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and something I was thinking about.
Just before we move on to the next bit of that, I'm interested in it. But Haley, you were saying something there, sorry, and it kind of got...
I was pretty much saying the exact thing as Ryan in that right now, the way it's written, because of the higher, lower, unless you're that lower, you don't so much get that sense of being caught up in the consequences. It feels more like you get additional chances to sink, which is why you need that to change some of these moves to be more currency spending when you get involved as a disincentive to be involved.
Yeah, that's
in my opinion.
No, I which is why, in fact, you know what? Here, send me the Google Doc. I'm just going to fix it. No, I think you're right. And also, if you want the Google Doc so you can fix this game, please do. Ari, go ahead with your second question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just a follow up on that. So, and the other thing you could do, possibly instead of making it currency spending for those moves, is you could make you can make it that non-participation is incentivized by you gaining, what is it, hearts, you're going to call it, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Like,
incentivize non-participation. So make it sort of a tightrope between trust and betrayal on these moves.
Yeah.
Not participate. Good for you, bad for the group role, but you get something in the long run.
So what will probably happen is there'll be 2 triggers for what causes you to gain that intimacy currency. One will be set by what adjective you put for yourself. So, for example, if you said that you were faithful, you would take intimacy when you engage with rituals or elements of your faith, whatever. And then if you put reckless, you would also gain it when you do things that like cause others to think you're reckless or whatever. Like it would be tied to that sort of thing. But I don't know. It needs a lot of that. It needs a lot of that. So much work to still happen.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
My comment is probably more like a formatting one than a game design one. But once you add in the different currencies, I want to make it really clear and easily scannable about how you regain them. Because when I first saw share what little you have, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. But then we lose all my bonds and I don't know how I get them back. So maybe I won't trigger that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to more clearly see how I could trigger an infinite loop of sharing what little we have, because that move has so much good stuff in it. And I didn't want it to be a once in a lifetime thing.
That is the game I want to see too. So yeah, absolutely. I'll work on that. And thank you, V, for saying that it's been good to see it develop, because it's a thing and there is still a lot of development to do. But if I can just sort of say a thing, and hopefully you'll all either tell me if I'm right or wrong at the end of this. I was prepared to, and the reason I playtested this as early as I did is I was prepared to throw this all away if it didn't work. But I think there's something there. I think at the core this works or has value.
Yay.
And I think is this the first time you're running this? First time you're running this game?
Yeah.
Man, this is beautifully realized for like a first test. I dream of having a first test go this well.
Like partway through this, I was going, oh, but this is a one shot. Why can't we have 3 more sessions so I can see how this shakes out, sort of thing? Where it wasn't, I'm writing it out for one. It was, I want to see how this would actually play.
So this will probably be my August game for Gauntlet, because I think by August I'm going to have this solid. I think it's already playable, and I think by August I'll have this stats thing figured out, and it'll be good to go.
Sick.
Oh my god.
Do it.
I have one other comment.
Please.
Like, literally last thing. Go toe to toe is a move that contrasts really a lot with all the other moves. It's a heroic move, which says a really different tone to a lot of the other moves, because it gives you the power. And it's the only move that gives you the power in a way that doesn't involve you sharing intimacy. And as it stands, it kind of doesn't fit with the tone for me as well as the other moves do. Okay. So I guess that's something to have a think about.
No, that's really good. So what kind of, how would you want to see because characters need a way to assert will, right? How would you want to see characters assert themselves, especially over NPCs, without that?
So it kind of needs to go the other way around, in the sense that, like, on the move as it stands now, it's like, I'll tell you how it's going to be. And then if I get the higher result, I'll tell you that I owe you. And then like, okay. And then I'll just keep doing that. Whereas it needs to be like, this is what I'm going to fucking give you. Please, please, please. Is it going to work? Yes or no?
Okay, cool.
For me. So but there's like 1,000 ways of doing it. But that's just my viewpoint.
So you're not even so much saying change, like scrub the move and start again. What you're saying is change the framing of the move. So
it needs to feel like you're on the back foot rather than the front foot. So yes.
That can be achieved with, I reckon, like mostly a framing change on there, but absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to like, sorry, I just cut your phone.
Oh, no, I think I was just kind of echoing what you were saying, that I think that solves my issue with it, where it starts off with I'm telling you what I'm doing, but the answers are sort of, and I'm begging you to go along with me, which felt kind of tonally weird, but the way you're proposing it seems to kind of pull it better into sync. So yes, basically what I'm saying is listen to Haley more and ignore me.
But yeah, I don't like some of these higher results are too good for what you want, I think.
So what I'm
Perfect
hearing,
brutal.
yeah, I was going to say what I'm hearing is that Haley said I'm too good at writing things. Awesome. No, absolutely. So it was there. Yeah, I really like it's a possible descent into violence. That you're like, please, 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 can I have it this way? And if they don't, you can. The trap is to go to violence.
The fail is great. It's the success I've got an issue with.
Well, I think it's you can go to ascend into violence either way, as in because you're pushed by desperation or you're angry. I think it does leave that open. So I do like that spiral. I'm keen for that trap to be activated.
All right, I'm really excited about it. So I think
people will have a lot of fun with this game, Sid.
Sorry, what was that, B?
I think people will have a lot of fun with this game.
Okay, thank you. That's super kind. That is, oh my god, I'm blushing. Yeah, it's okay. That's a really easy tonal fit. So I think my next 3 big steps are figure out my fiction interrogation moves, especially if I can collapse them or if I can change the way that fill them out flows at the moment for PC to PC discussion, which is great. Second, I want to approach my stats. That's really easy. I have a plug and play method from Dogs in the Vineyard PBTA that I can use, which is great. And then I can do the go toe-to-toe thing, fix that up. And then I guess fourth is just to kind of fix up my start procedure. I really, really like the questions thing. I know 12 questions is a lot. It might be too much, but I really, really like it because at the end of that, I had enough that we could start a game and I felt like everyone knew where we were starting. I felt like it was very clear. But it is a lot of pre-gen that maybe we don't need. I'll be interested if you collapsed your fiction interrogation moves. Yeah, okay. More inclined to keep them separated. Good point. How about I do a collapse one and I do a separate one and I try and see what I can do. And then I see which one works better. But I think most importantly that there's something to this. I think this is a valuable product and I think that I can make it work. I think that at its core, it facilitated us telling a really interesting story about interesting characters, and that is a really nice goal to have. And I think that the bits that I feel really like blur about in my guts at the moment are about the fact that like there's little structural things that stop it from being something wonderful, but we can get it there. All right. Does anyone have any final comments they'd like to... Not yet fun, Haley. Not yet fun. Does anyone have any final comments that they would like to make before we finish this up?
I can't wait to play again.
And thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing and running.
I know it's tough, but it was really fun and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know it was really rough on you, but thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun seeing how it is shaped up so far because I've been invested in this thing since the Ryan Nail started, and it's really nice seeing what's become of it.
Yeah, it's good. I hope you build that confidence with your own designs, and it's definitely a tough one, but you should be proud of the work you've done, and it's been a really, really good experience.
Thank you. That's it's all super kind. I'm confident enough that I could show it to y'all and to the world. Like the other thing is part of this being a very open, vulnerable product is that the playtest wasn't the 4 of us sitting down or 5 of us sitting down at my living room table. It was a little bit more public, but I'm super. I don't know. I'm really glad. I'm really glad at how it showed. I'm really glad at who the characters were. I'm really glad at where it's coming from. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone online, all the little outlets. You're my faves. We will do some what's it called? Some scenes, some episodes about fixing those or working on iterating on those issues as we go forward.